If you aren't excited, get excited because guess what? It's that time of year again. We have a lot to discuss. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe to all that good stuff. Turn on post notifications, when live stream about few drops. But we have the one, the only Chris the Entertainah on, and we're going to talk about the Giants and their draft philosophy. A lot of smoke screens coming out, a lot of different things. Maybe a little touch on free agency because I know we had Chris on before free agency started. So I'm going to go out there and also shout out to Jacob in the chat. I'm going to go out there and ask Chris, how are you doing? How are you feeling coming into draft week, man?
Yeah, man. Thank you again for having me on. I've gotten to meet you a few times. Great guy, diehard Giants fan. I think you do a great job on the channel. So I was excited to come back on. When you asked to do a little pre-draft coverage. I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good going into this draft because I think Joe Schoen did exactly what you want your general manager to do. I think he filled a lot of the holes on this team, but he did it in a way in which it's not going to really, hamper us long term. Like these are all short term stopgap fillers, but it helps to improve the team for 2023 as you continue to try to really build the core of this team through the draft. But I think he had a tremendous free agency period.
Yeah, especially. I mean, obviously there wasn't a ton of money. There was money to play with, and I think he played with it well. But with also that being said, I'm going to welcome in our third member of the panel, Donald. What is happening?
Salute.
What's going on, man?
Hey, man. How are you?
Good, man. Good to see you.
You too. Let's go, Big Blue.
Yes, definitely. Donald, your first thoughts on it's draft. I mean, obviously we had our show yesterday, but this is a Giants exclusive, and it's draft week. So, are you pumped?
Oh, of course, I'm pumped. I'm already doing draft work. I'm excited. I'm trying to work out who we're going to take at 25. There's so many variables. Are we going to go corner? We're going to go center. Are we going to go receiver? Very excited to find out.
Very excited as well. So let's start out with free agency a little bit. Just to get a little warm up going. We touched a little bit on it in the first thoughts. Obviously, some of the bigger signings and some of the bigger moves. First off, getting a linebacker in Bobby Okereke from the Indianapolis Colts. That was one of the bigger moves in terms of solidifying this linebacking core. The New York Giants also traded for Darren Waller, which was very big. I think it's the biggest move of the offseason, and I don't think a lot of people have talked about it, I'm going to be honest. And there were some smaller moves at the wide receiver position, and I think what Joe Schoen's philosophy was in that area of the field is avoid last year what happened. Don't pick up scraps. Like Hodgins technically was a scrap turned into, this solid wide receiver, this solid, reliable wide receiver at that. Paris Campbell, 1-year contract, Jeff Smith. So they're trying to fill out the depth chart with experience depth and not basically just fruit baggers off the street.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on also as well. I forgot to mention the Giants did a great job yesterday. They signed A'Shawn Robinson. They had him in the building about a month ago. We were unsure whether that signing was going to go down. They got him in the building. Raheem Nunez-Roches as well, filling out that D tackle depth. We're feeling a little bit better about that. I don't know where the Giants are going to go in terms of, if they do pick a D tackle, and then one more to add as well. There's a couple of, depth signings also as well. But J.C. Hassenauer, the former center of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, good call.
That could trigger anything as well. But with that being said, I'll start with Tana. Thoughts on free agency, thoughts on some of these different moves.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at what was available to them in terms of the market. I think we all, obviously wide receivers, what a lot of Giants fans are looking at because of all the things you just said. Our most prominent wide receiver last year was either Darius Slayton, who was a former 5th-round pick, who fans were ready to kick off the team before the year started, or Isaiah Hodgins, who literally got kicked off of his team, with the Buffalo Bills. So, I think we were all looking at that wide receiver market in free agency, and there wasn't a ton of options in terms of high-end number one wide receivers like we've seen in other free agency classes. So I think the Giants did right by, in terms of what was available. They went for a stopgap filler. They brought back Slayton on what essentially will be a 1-year deal. It's a $1.7 million dead hit next year. If they want to move on, they could easily move off. And they brought in Campbell on a 1-year deal. I think Campbell fits our offense beautifully. I don't know if he's going to be a long-term answer because you worry about, obviously, his injury problems. He's been injured throughout the course of his career, but that's exactly why it's a 1-year deal. But you're talking about a guy with 4.31 speed who's fully capable of both playing in the slot and on the outside. He's got a little bit of height to him. I think he's 6'1", and I think he's going to fit this scheme incredibly well. And they added Darren Waller for not a lot. And I understand he's 31 years old. I understand he's been banged up. But again, you're talking about a 2-year filler. I think Waller's kind of a stopgap number one option. I don't think they view him as the guy that's going to be the featured guy in the passing game when this team gets to where we really want to go, which is a true Super Bowl contender. But he's a guy that helps you get from 2023 to 2024. It helps you further analyze Daniel Jones, and it definitely brings a different dynamic to this offense. And it's all about creating mismatches with this coaching staff. Well, it's going to be hard to match up a linebacker on, one of the top 3 or 4 pass catching options at the tight end position. So, and they got him for, the pick that they acquired for Kadarius Toney. So I love that pickup. The defense, we all knew that we needed a linebacker. I thought we were going to attack the linebacker months leading up into free agency simply because it was a pretty rich class at the position, and you figured you weren't going to have to spend an arm and a leg for one of the, the more notable ones. And I think what Shane went for there with Okereke was a younger player that hasn't quite peaked yet. And I think you can say the same thing for Paris Campbell. He's 25. He's still growing as a player. And some people said they overpaid, but when you really look at it, we gave Blake Martinez the same per year average 2 years ago when the market was lower in terms of cap space. I think this guy's got more potential. You look at his athletic ability, his side-to-side quickness. He may not grade out great in coverage, but he certainly has the athletic potential to at least be good in coverage. So I love that pickup. I think it's going to help our run defense. And then, I think an overlooked thing is the depth on the defensive line. Like, that was a major problem for this team when we went up against the Dallas Cowboys, when we went up against the Philadelphia Eagles this year. They bullied us. You bring in Nacho, and then you bring in A'Shawn Robinson, who I said yesterday in my video, that was kind of like the bow that just tied everything together. Now I feel really confident about our run defense going into next year with the addition of Okereke, those 2 interior defensive linemen. Our biggest weakness might be our biggest strength on defense now. And if you had a cornerback, early on in this year's draft, and I'm sure we'll get into it, this defense could be dynamite. I mean, with Dexter Lawrence coming back, you figure Kayvon Thibodeau is going to progress. Azeez hopefully stays healthier than he did last year. I mean, this defense has a lot of potential. So I think they did a lot, but they did all of that. They added all that weaponry, all the talent on defense without damaging the long-term future of this team. None of these contracts are more than 2-year commitments. So I love everything that Joe Schoen did. And what he did now is he gave himself the freedom to do whatever he wants early on in this draft. Now, we still have obvious holes. Center. Like, we need a center. I don't care what. I listen to every New York Giants press conference, and every press conference, Joe Schoen, we're confident. We're confident with Ben Bredesen. Bullshit you are. There's no way you're confident with this interior offensive line, so you better address that center spot at some point in this draft. So that's an obvious need. We still need more help at the wide receiver spot. We still need more help at the CB. We could use a safety. There's clear holes that we still need to fill, but I think Shane did as much as he could without breaking the bank in terms of hurting the long-term stability of this team to fill as many holes as he possibly can to give himself the freedom to take the best player he possibly can when he goes on the clock at number 25 on Thursday. So I loved it. I thought it was a great free agency period for Shane.
Donald, your thoughts?
There's a lot to like. It starts with the fact that they were very, very intelligent with the way they were looking at the wide receiver market. There was not really a clear-cut number one wide receiver on the market. And that's obviously what their biggest need was. So they're like, let's pivot and let's get a playmaking tight end who is a mismatch all over the field and is going to be our number one option. And I think that was the route that they went for instead of paying crazy money for our receiver where there isn't really a top-end receiver in the free agent market. I think that was a smart way of going. I love Darren Waller. When we made that trade, I was like mind blown. I was like, that is an incredible steal. That is a steal. You essentially traded Kadarius Toney for Waller. And you take that 100 times out of 100 plus some. You know what I mean? That is just an absolute steal. I couldn't believe how good that steal was. So I love that move. I agree with Alex. I actually really, really like the Paris Campbell pickup. I think he's a buy low, high upside guy. If you can stay healthy, That's the only question for me because his athleticism was in the 99th percentile coming out of college. He was incredibly fast, and it just and whenever he's on the field, he's incredibly productive, as he was last year. It's just keeping him on the field. So I think that he is someone that we should be able to utilize. I think he's going to be a nice fit, perfect fit actually for our system. So I'm quite excited to see him. Those were the two main takeaways, and then Bobby Okereke. I actually loved him. I loved Okereke. He was probably I'd say he was probably my number one or number two linebacker target, actually, because I think, as I agree with you there, Tana, I think there's a lot of room for him to grow, and I think the reason why maybe his sack numbers and sack production isn't that high is mostly because of the scheme that he was used in. I think that there is room for him to grow. I think there is some pass rushing upside there with him because he's such a relentless tackler and he's got sideline to sideline speed and he's very good in the run game. There's so much to like about him. He's average in the coverage, but that's okay.
He's average, but he's capable. He's not
exactly. Yeah,
he's not like Martinez.
Average is not a problem for me. It's better than below average.
Yeah, Martinez to me was like almost a liability in coverage. That's not Okereke.
And the thing is, that was a very good contract because, as you say, it was basically the same money as what we got Blake Martinez. And I thought Blake Martinez was phenomenal in his first year here.
He was good at first year, yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome. But he was mostly just a tackler. You know, he didn't really have much other than that. I think Okereke has more room in his game. I think there's more ways in which we can utilize him. He's also a leader. We need leaders. We love leaders. That's a big thing for the Giants. They love guys that are like team leaders. He's very much a team leader type guy. And I think that his attitude, and I think he's going to be a seamless fit for the Giants. And I think Wink is going to have a lot of fun utilizing him because they desperately needed a linebacker, man, especially a Mike. And I think he's got the capability of being a perfectly good Mike. So I'm very excited about those main three guys. I think if I was to critique, I would say that I would have liked to have addressed corner at some stage, or certainly safety. I think there was a ton of safeties that we could have maybe picked up after we lost Love.
Yeah, we brought in the guy from Washington. What's his name?
Bobby McCain.
Yeah, not very good.
McCain. Yeah, that wasn't the kind of guy I was hoping for. I think there was other guys I would have targeted. I thought maybe we would bring in Poyer from the Bills. That would have been probably my thought there. Safety probably wouldn't been quite smart, but because now we're kind of shopping hungry at safety, and we're definitely shopping hungry at corner.
Yeah, that's for sure.
At the end of the draft, and that's probably my main critique. But having said that, you know, he still was managing a situation where he didn't have a ton of money to use because you just obviously had to franchise Saquon, and then you've got Daniel Jones extended. So there was only so many areas you can target, and there was a ton of areas to target. And I think he prioritized smartly. He's like, listen, there's not a number one receiver, so we're going to pivot, bring in a number one tight end. I love that, and I think actually Daniel Jones will make more use of a mismatch type tight end than our receiver, in my opinion. I think he loves those kind of dudes that are really good in the intermediate, always available. And I think that Darren Waller will be a mismatch all over the field. And I think Daniel Jones will thrive because he loves to tight ends. Daniel Jones actually does very, very well developing tight ends.
Well, you think back to his rookie year with, what's his name? The dude we got from the 49ers.
Caden Smith.
Yeah, Caden Smith. He had a really good year
with
us.
Really good under him. Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to mention in terms of free agency, like in terms of like a pattern that I noticed, in years past, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I looked at it after free agency, and I think between like 2018 and 2022, the Giants only retained like 5 or 6 players that were free agents from the previous team if you combine those 4 years in total. This past year, the New York Giants retained Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, Sterling Shepard, Matt Breida, Casey Kreider, that's 5. Jihad Ward is 6. Jamie Gillen is 7. Gerard Davis is 8. Darius Slayton is 9. Lawrence Cager is 10. Wyatt Davis is 11. Jack Anderson, 12. Isaiah Hodgins, 13. They retained 13 free agents from last year's team. So Joe Schoen really stuck to his motto of we are going to build from within. We're going to build through the draft and build from within, because you think back to the previous year, we drafted like 8 players, 9 players. He's going to draft another 10 players this year. So you're talking 17, 18 players of the roster just from his last 2 draft classes, plus those 13 players he retained. So he's keeping a lot of in-house talent. That's something that he talked about, how they value players that they know. They're going to put more stock into that. So that was another pattern that I noticed in free agency.
Yeah, definitely. So just want to go through some comments real quick. Pat, hopefully you read my message. As I said, Chris will be going on New York Revival, I think, tonight. So maybe I'll slip you the link as well.
Yeah, I can hang out here till like 8:45, though. I saw 8:30. I can hang out
right.
till like 8:45.
Sounds good. Tanah, don't mention Gillen's name in front of Donald. Yep. Donald is
yeah, you said, no, they worked really hard to bring back talent. And I was thinking, Gillen?
I wasn't happy about the Gillen. That was the one
worst
where
move of the offseason right there. Right there, Joe Schoen.
Yeah, I didn't like that one.
Shouldn't have brung him back. But also, before I get to some more comments as well, I don't know if you guys talked about this. It's like, even though some of these guys are role players, it's like 1-year contracts like Jahad Ward and Darius Slayton, we could finally, at least as of right now, start to use the C word in a positive light, and that's continuity.
Yeah.
This is at least my opinion on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is, bringing those guys back. It's continuity.
I think the Giants could go for a wideout in the first round. Could be Johnson, Flowers, or maybe even Addison at 25. Just MYG, Jeffy T. Defense is going to be much better when you add Roches, Robinson, Okereke, plus you have a healthy Beavers, Adoree, much better defenses here. And also as well, I want to ask you guys this. Obviously, we got A'Shawn Robinson done. What contract do you think was like restructured or something? Because something had to happen.
Yeah.
Or do you like? There was rumors earlier in the day that they were going to extend Adoree, but I don't know how true.
Really? Where did you see that? I didn't see that.
My brother told me. I remember I was in school, and he's like, "Yeah, well, according to I forget who he said. He's like, yeah, they're looking to extend Adoree." I said, "Get it done then." I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah,
I've not heard that, actually. I don't know about you, Tanah. I've not heard about Adoree.
I'm gonna look it up right now, actually, because I did not hear about that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just didn't hear about it. But what I'll say is, I think to alleviate some of the cap pressure, I see the Giants probably looking into. They're obviously going to extend Dexter Lawrence. Like, that's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And that'll knock off some cap, for this year, because I think he's due $12 million. If you give him, he's going to get like $24 million a year, but they'll structure it in a way where it probably frees up $5, $6, $7 million on this year's cap. So I see them doing that. That'll help pay for some of the draft. The Barkley thing is still kind of up in the air. We'll see. I think they're going to get a deal done. I really do. I don't think it's going to be what a lot of people thought, myself included, before free agency started, but I don't think he starts the year on the tag. I think they get some kind of deal done that's much more comfortable for the New York Giants than what Barkley probably currently wants. But I think in the end, it's going to be smarter for him to sign some kind of deal rather than just playing out on the $10 million tag. So if they're able to accomplish that, maybe you can free up another $5 or $6 million on this year's cap. That's what I see them doing. I've seen people throw out theories that, does this mean that Leonard Williams is going to be gone? No, Leonard Williams is going to play this year with the Giants. They're not going to cut him. They're not cutting Leonard Williams this year. He's too good of a player. I understand it says $12 million, but he's too good to just cut. You see the market for the D tackle. He's worth more than $12 million, so the savings isn't worth it. So he'll be back. I think they'll extend Dex, and I think they'll find a way to extend Saquon. That's how I think they'll free up some cap to pay for the draft.
So I'm going to ask you guys this because I stumbled upon this a few days ago, actually, when I was on a podcast, and I thought to myself, well, actually, it's quite interesting. Both were Pro Bowlers this year. You guys touched upon both players, Saquon and Dex. Which, in your opinion, is priority to get done? I'm going to say Dexter for one reason only, and that is you look at Saquon, right? And obviously, you could talk about the injuries and all this other stuff, right? The market for running backs took a huge hit with the Miles Sanders signing and some of these other things that are going on. But why I say Dex is a priority is because Quinnen Williams has yet to be re-signed. We don't know how much that contract is going to be. The Titans re-signed Jeffrey Simmons. I think it was, $23.5 million.
It was big.
Deron Payne was extended. So I don't think Joe Schoen wants to be in the position where, you lose a key guy or you have to pay him top dollar after like Quinn Williams gets paid. You kind of want to get that stuff done now. I mean, that's just my line of thinking. I'll start with Chris and I'll go back to Donald.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way. I said it before the year ended. I'm like, there's no way. Like Dexter Lawrence is clearly signing an extension before the year starts. If he doesn't, he should fire his agent. He's coming off an All-Pro year. He was one of the top 2 or 3 interior defensive linemen in football, and he's only getting $12 million next year, and that's it. So we all knew there was no way he wasn't going to sign an extension going into next year. That was beyond obvious. Now the question is just the dollar amount. But yeah, I agree with you in terms of what's more important. As much as I love Saquon Barkley and as important as I think he is for this offense, there's no denying that. Dexter Lawrence is a guy that's going to be here for the next 10 years. He just is, or the next 7 or 8 years. He's going to be here for a long time with the New York Giants. He's a core piece. You have Dexter Lawrence, you have Andrew Thomas, and I think Daniel Jones, along with hopefully Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, and some of the younger players. But Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas for sure are guys that you're projecting to be here for the next 8 years. You want to make these guys as happy as you possibly can, and the sooner you can get that deal done, the better. I think they'll have a deal done before July, but I would say Dexter is the more important one because even if you extend Saquon, my guess with the Saquon deal, if they get something done, I think it's going to be a deal in terms of guaranteed money because that's the only figure I really care about. Everybody makes a big deal about the per year salary. I don't care about that. I care about the guaranteed money. I think it'll equate out to be 2 franchise tags. I think they'll give more security. They'll be like, we're going to give you the 2 franchise tags up front in guaranteed money. That's the type of deal I envision Barkley getting if the Giants extend him. Something like 3 years, $39 million, 23 or 24 guaranteed. A contract you can rip up after 2 years. Dex, I think, is going to be a 5-year deal. Like, it's going to be a long-term. This guy's in the long-term plans of this football team. So I think it's imperative to get Dex done as soon as possible. Get him happy, get him in the building, and start working with him. So I would definitely side towards Dex.
Donald.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want to repeat verbatim exactly what Chris said, but you're 100% right in everything. Dex, you're probably going to sign a 5 or 6 year deal. Saquon, you probably got him for, in his prime, he's going to be here for 2 years. 3 years at most. So, plus the D lineman market has exploded. It's now completely exploded, and the running back market has definitely decreased, especially with them Sanders signing.
I don't mean to cut you up, but I'm just thinking as you said that, I was looking at the franchise tag numbers year to year. The running back has actually gone down, which is insane when you think about it because the cap goes up every year. But the running back franchise tag in 2019 was $1 million higher than it is in 2022, which is insane.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the tag that we signed him for is actually a brilliant deal for the Giants. It works out perfect for them. But in terms of, like, it might hurt the morale of Saquon for sure. And maybe the people around him, if they don't extend him pretty soon, because he was meant so much to the organization last year and prior years when he had no help around him, and he had a really tough time. And yeah, he's been a team leader, and he's just been an awesome Giant, and so I think they do need to try and work a way of finding a good middle ground. Kind of like, right, well, what's your number? Right, well, this is what we're comfortable with. Let's find a middle ground. And I think Saquon will be amenable to that. So, judging by his exit interview, when he said, "Listen, I want to spend my career with the Giants, and I'm not looking to reset the market." I'm hoping that the Giants will do something for him. But listen, yeah, I mean, Joe Shane's being smart though. Like, you can't overpay for running back. You can get a productive running back in the middle rounds. You can get a productive running back even in the second round, whatever, if they so absolutely desperately needed to. Not that I want them to do that, but there's obviously that option that would come in cheaper than extending Saquon. But Saquon is a game changer, man. And there's only very few running backs in the league that has what Saquon has. And you hear around the league, who's the one guy that we're scared of? It's Saquon Barkley. So I think the Giants need to be smart about that and find a way of extending him. However, Dexter Lawrence was the only answer, really.
He's the priority.
You have to look at the years, and you also have to look at the fact that we need to have the money set aside for Dexter, right? And then you can then visit Saquon, going, right, okay, we've paid this amount for Dexter. This This is how we can
But
work it.
you're absolutely right, though, and I think a lot of fans don't take that into account with the Saquon Barkley situation. I completely understand he's a running back. I completely understand it's not an extremely valued position in today's NFL.
Mhm.
And people are right when they make that argument, because if you have a great offensive line, you could have a great running game, even with average running back play. So I understand the argument, but there is a human element to this.
Yeah.
And there is a locker room that needs to be factored in. This is not fantasy football. This is not Madden, okay? And Madden, yeah, it's simple. Okay, the answer is don't bring Saquon Barkley back or just force him to play in the tag. In real life, there is a locker room. There are guys that respect Saquon Barkley. He is a leader in that locker room. You're trying to set a culture. You're trying to do right by your players. So I do think it's in the Giants' best interest, and I do think the Giants do want to extend Saquon Barkley, but they want to do it on their terms, which is around a contract, like I said earlier. I think they'll get something done, but I think they want to set the tone that they want to treat their leaders and the guys that are respected from within that building right. And, forcing Saquon to play on a tag is not going to be looked at in a favorable light throughout the majority of that locker room.
Now, obviously, they've taken the deal that we offered mid-season last year off the table, right? I take it they're not going to revisit that number. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the number was in terms of guaranteed salary. All we heard was, the average per year number, which I heard was 12 and over 13 million. Yeah. I don't know what the guaranteed money was. So, yeah, we didn't hear that.
I mean, I just wouldn't overly play hardball. Like, I do think that they need to maybe pay a little more than they'd ought to really want to be comfortable with just to make sure this gets done. I really do think that, just for the good of the organization and Saquon and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to answer for Tana, and I'll let him answer, of course. I would say Dex, probably, right?
This year it's Dex. I think you could wait another year on AT. I think both are a clear priority, and both those guys are 8 to 10 year pieces. Those are franchise building block pieces. But for this year, it's Dex. Like, Dex is coming out. He's only got one more year in his contract. With Thomas, you still have the 5th year option. And I'm sure they're going to extend him after next year, like they're extending Dex this year, because Thomas isn't going to want to play in a 1-year commitment either. But you could wait another year on Thomas. You space out the money a little bit. So this year it's Dex, but long term, it might be Thomas, because of the position he plays. As important as Dex is, left tackle, you need a blindside protector. So, but this year, if we're talking specifically, it's Dex. You're going to wait another year on AT.
Saquon forces teams to focus on him, which makes DJ's job a little easier. Also, locker room leader. That is absolutely true. Jacob says, look at Pacheco, Carter, Hall, all mid to late round running backs. It's true, but they're not as much of a game changer as well. That running back tag thing is upsetting because it's telling you that they don't matter when they clearly do. Yeah, I mean, the value's just gone down. Pay Saquon 12, 13 mil for 3 years, 2 years guaranteed, need him to stay. Not a lot of money. I mean, we'll see what Saquon's side of the coin says.
Exactly. There's two sides to the equation.
Yeah.
Like, the Giants may be willing to do a deal, like I just said. Saquon's side may not.
Yeah, They may be looking for a little bit more. With the Dex resigning, you have to think this: is he better than Jeffrey Simmons, Williams, and Javon Hargrave?
He's in that class. He's in that class.
He's definitely in that class. It's based off of last year as well. Javon Hargrave, yep. If you extend Dex, restructure guys like Leo and Dory, then you can give a Saquon a 3-year deal and not have cap problems.
I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think they'll touch too many contracts, if I'm going to be honest. They might just backload, but who knows? Shouts to Mike in the chat, by the way.
What I will say is I do think that Saquon's agent and Love's agent screwed up, because we offered
100%.
them a very, very nice contracts at mid-season last year, and they passed, and now Love signed for a lot lower than anyone was expecting in the safety market. I think he probably expected he was going to get paid very handsomely, but the safety market did not explode like anticipated, and Saquon should have been smart and should have just taken that offer, because that was a very smart, good offer that we gave him, and he passed.
I agree. I think he should fire his agent, to be honest with you, because they didn't take enough into account that the franchise tag was a tool for the Giants.
Yep.
Okay. And maybe they were trying to play chicken, and they thought the Giants would have to use it on Jones, but they were able to get the Jones deal done, before the tag deadline. And then they instantly tagged Saquon Barkley. But the other thing they didn't take into account, this year's running back draft class is loaded. So if you're a team, what's your incentive to spend $15 million on Saquon Barkley when you could draft Bijan Robinson in the first round, when you could draft Gibbs, who's a really good, like, there's a lot of really good running backs in this year's draft.
Tajay Spears.
Yeah, so I feel like that also was not factored in by Saquon's agent. Like, they didn't have the as much leverage as they thought they did.
Yeah.
And especially went down once again with this whole running back thing with Miles Sanders and all these other contracts signed. I think the Giants should take a corner in the draft. Keep in mind they already restructured Dory's contract. Probably extend is the better word for it. Not to mention you'd have to give up 2 firsts on top of that. I forget what you're referring to. Part of me thinks Shane wants Barkley to walk because of how he values the running back position. I mean, yeah, he does come from Buffalo where they don't like value it a ton, but at the same time, I mean, he was when he was coming out last year before the season even started, he mentioned Saquon Barkley is like one of those pieces you gotta like have back in the building, along with Xavier McKinney, along with Andrew Thomas, along with Dexter Lawrence. Those guys are on that list, and I do think outside of value, Joe Shane probably wants it's of his best interest to put Saquon Barkley back in the building.
Yeah, and I don't read too much into, what they did in Buffalo in terms of what they're doing here. I think Dable is kind of like a guy that adapts to the talent that he has on his roster. Like, Buffalo did not feature a tight end. We're clearly going to.
Yeah.
Darren Waller was the best player available. Like, keep going mute. But same thing. We featured a running back last year with the New York Giants. Buffalo clearly did not. So I don't read too much into what they did in Buffalo as to what they're going to do here. I think they want to keep good football players and guys that they can envision building the team around, but they also don't want to overspend. They want to bring these guys back for what they feel is the proper value. But I think they want Saquon back. I don't think they want Saquon to play on the tag, but they're not giving him a CMC deal. And to be fair, they shouldn't. I mean, Barkley's 26. CMC was 23 when he signed his extension, and Barkley's had 2 big injuries. So, I think the agent, unfortunately for Saquon, because I love Saquon, but the agent just misjudged the market. And you're absolutely right. They should have taken the initial deal that was presented to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Duran says no team is giving up 1 first for a running back. That's probably true. I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, there might be some movement across the league, especially with Dalvin Cook possibly being traded. Shoutouts to Wales in the chat. Guys, keep your questions coming, of course. And any final thoughts on like the free agent aspect, contracts, all that sort of stuff before we ride into the draft?
I think we touched on it. I mean, for the most part, I think we hit on the hit home with the free agency.
All right. So let's start off with the 25th overall pick. Where do you rank if you were the GM, and even if you're still a fan, but you're kind of wanting the Giants to go a certain direction, how are you ranking priorities at 25? Now, I get it. There could be certain players that are there, certain players that are not there. Some positions to throw out: wide receiver, corner, defensive line, edge, center, obviously. So how would you prioritize it maybe into a top 3?
Yeah, I'm going to answer this in a few different ways, and then I'm going to give you my final answer.
Okay.
First, I'm going to just analyze the needs of the team after free agency. Center, like you just said, obvious need. Obvious. Just interior offensive line help in general need. Playmaker, wide receiver, still a need. We don't have that number 1 threat, so still a need. On the defensive side of the ball, cornerback, obvious need. Safety, obvious need. More linebacker help, need. Could use more edge depth too. Like, there's a lot of ways we could go here in this draft early on. If I had to, when I factor in positional importance in terms of, what are core pieces to a football team, that's the tackle, that's the quarterback, that's the wide receiver, that's the corner, that's the edge. Those are the premium positions. When I factor that in, when I also factor in what is perceived to be the strength of this year's draft in terms of, the stronger positions, particularly early on when we're talking first round. Corner's number 1 for me because I'm a guy that, believes strongly in drafting towards the strength of a draft, especially when it could fill a void on your team that is a premium position. And corner is a premium position and is a big need for us right now. And it's not just for this year. You got to also think about Adore. There's a very good chance will not be back with the Giants after this year. He's going to be 29 years old. He's got an injury history. and you're gonna have to pay him premium bucks. So you got to start thinking long term. And we don't really have a true number 2 corner. Yes, maybe Cordell Flott could develop into that. But if I'm Joe Shane, I'm thinking, well, I'm probably not bringing Adoree back. I'm probably going to want to build through the draft. I'm taking my first-round corner this year. I'm developing Flott. I'm developing a Robinson. Maybe I draft another corner in the next draft. Who knows? But I think based off of need, based off the strength of this draft, again, without knowing, like you said, who's going to be there, I'm not saying we're definitely taking a corner. 6 corners could go before we pick. Then we're probably not going corner. But number 1 for me going in, yeah, I'm hoping a guy like Deonte Banks falls to us. I'm hoping a guy like Porter Jr. falls to us. And I'll be ecstatic on draft night because, yeah, I think that's number 1 for me. Number 2, this is contrarian to a lot of people. I'm leaning center. I know a lot of people are going to say wide receiver because it's the more important position. But for me, I look at the wide receiver class. I don't see a number 1 guy in this draft class. I see a lot of good wide receivers. I see a lot of wide receivers I could get day 2, round 2, round 3, round 4. I don't see a Jamar Chase in this draft. I don't see a Jalen Waddle in this draft. I don't see a Justin Jefferson in this draft. I see guys who could be a really good number 2 wide receiver on a football team early on, the Zay Flowers of the world, the Jordan Addisons of the world. But for me, I think center is actually my number 2 priority going into the draft. And then I would have wide receiver 3. But I'm also not shortchanging the D end, the edge, the interior defensive line. As much as we've addressed that, I don't think Leonard Williams is long to be here much longer. So I think that's another position. Like if they take Kalijah Kancey, I'm not going to scream. If they feel he's the best player on their board in the first round. But if you ask me what I want a corner. I just think it makes way too much sense. I want a corner in the first round.
Donald?
Who's calling? 100% corner for me is number 1 because I've done a million mocks and you look at the depth and there is a bit of a drop off in corner quality. Once you reach the second round, kind of mid-second round, there is kind of a drop off. You do need an outside corner, press man corner to fit Wink Martindale's system. We don't really have a number 2. Plus, we may need someone that's going to step in as number 1 if we don't extend Dory Jackson. It's the obvious call for me because I think we can make it work with the receivers that we have. But obviously, we need to strengthen at some point in the draft, the early rounds for sure. But there's a lot more depth in the receiver. Like you can go Mingo, you could go. My favorite, Tank Dell. You could get Tank Dell in the 3rd round.
I like the guy from Cincinnati.
Tyler Scott is his name?
Yeah, Scott. Yeah, I like him. Super fast.
Yeah, so there's some bunch of dudes like you can go through, and I think you can find a decent receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round. In the 1st round, there's some really good corners here, man. Like there's Joey Porter Jr., there's Emmanuel Forbes. There's my guy, Deonte Banks. I think he's fantastic. Deonte Banks is an awesome corner. I think he'd be perfect in Wink Martindale's system in the pressed man. I'm thinking wait it out for a receiver and really attack corner in the 1st round for me. That's probably what I would do. Plus, like I also like how you also have to look at like how we prioritize positions in the 1st round. In general, I kind of prioritize defensive backs, defensive ends, and offensive tackles in the 1st round. That's my general policy. I think It's a good bet in terms of value because you can get productive receivers in the later rounds for sure. Not necessarily at corner though. Like it's a lot harder to find an excellent corner in the mid to later rounds unless you're a freaking genius. So that's why I kind of prioritize corner there. So yeah, that's my plan. I would say corner 1. I would say receiver. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chris. I think center 2, receiver 3. If John Michael Schmitz is available in the 2nd round, I mean that'd be just a dream. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think someone's gonna snap him up.
You never know though, man. Players.
But yeah, you see how it. But that's the thing, man. There are variables because obviously you're looking at the priorities, but a lot can change because what if all the really good receivers that we love are just snapped off one after the other, and then you're sort of like, shoot, maybe we do need to reach a little bit to make sure that we don't completely fall out. Or the other way around is, what if a bunch of corners suddenly drop off? And then that's the thing. So, like, it always is dependent on your draft board. But I think,
especially when you're picking as late as we are,
yeah.
like when you're picking 25, like we don't know. Like if 6 corners go, that changes everything. We might go edge. We might, go, you're going to go with the best player on your board at that point.
But there isn't a huge drop off. For instance, say if Forbes and Banks is still available at 25.
Well, I'm Banks.
Yeah, agreed. But like, there isn't such a drop off in quality to the point where you could consider dropping down a couple spots and accruing another 3rd round pick. I really think that at some point we do need to trade down, whether it's the 1st round or the 2nd round. I do think we need to accrue another pick because we have a ton of holes, man. We need a safety. We need an edge. We do need another running back, regardless of the Saquon situation. So, like, I think the only way we can accomplish those goals is by accruing another pick in the 3rd round. So, I think by doing that, either in the 1st round or the 2nd round, we do need to trade down a spot or 2.
Safety also. I need
100%
safety. So I'm going to play the role of spoiler. And you guys touched a little bit on this, but I'm also going to include a separate one as well. And this is, of course, relating to the guest I'm about to bring on. He has been campaigning for 2 things, one recently, one basically for a few weeks now. One recently of the Jets and the Giants should play on 9/11 Monday Night Football because of the Aaron Rodgers trade.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2 is that center John Michael Schmitz should be the pick at number 25 overall. With that being said, I'm going to let the man speak for himself. Welcome, Big Dash.
What's going on, man?
What's going on? Good evening.
What up?
I came right in time, man. You guys are talking about the center. That's me. That's me all day. I'm on the hill,
love this
man.
guy. I love this guy. You're speaking my language. I love it.
What's going on, Chris?
What's going on?
What up, man? Good to see you again.
What's going on, Don? And Alex, of course.
First thoughts. Also, shout outs to Clutch B-Ball TV for the awesome super chat.
Thank you so much, Clutch. Really to see you in the chat, my man.
Noah's a great kid, man. Noah's been with my channel forever. Glad to see that he's in the chat showing support. What's up, Noah?
Yeah. I'm going to catch up to the chat shortly, but also, Big Dash, first thoughts a little bit on free agency and also your priorities outside of center at 25.
Outside of center. So I'll start there. I'll start outside of center, just like everybody else was saying, cornerback. Cornerback is as much as I push for the center, if one of those cornerbacks are there, absolutely. If Deonte Banks is there, I'm running to the podium.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, like, I don't feel as strongly about the wide receivers in this draft, just like Chris said too. I don't think there's a day one number 1 wide receiver in this draft at all. So for me, if you get to 25 and those corners aren't there, and I don't think the wide receivers are going to be there, I absolutely think you go with John Michael Schmitz, because again, not only does it fix your offensive line, it fixes your entire offense. It's not just for Daniel Jones, it's also for Saquon Barkley. It's for everybody. When you think about Daniel Jones, they talk about his pocket time and things like that. Well, you got to add in some of that running around, trying to make plays happen, extending plays when they count in that time. Solidify the offensive line. Let this man do what he needs to do. And also for the running game, I've seen John Michael Schmitz. His tape is absolutely boring, and I call it beautifully boring because he does nothing wrong. Everything is right all the time, and I need that in my life.
You know what that sounds like, Dash, and I agree with you because I've watched several film breakdowns. I don't pretend to do film breakdowns, but I've watched people that I respect do film breakdowns on John Michael Schmitz. And as I'm watching it, and they all say exactly what you just said. He's not flashy. He doesn't have this incredible athletic ability. But I heard that about countless times. That was an offensive lineman coming out a couple of years ago, Rashawn Slater. Same thing. Yeah. People said the same exact thing about Rashawn Slater. Yeah, he does everything right, but there's nothing spectacular. The guy came in, he was an all-pro year 1. So, if you – and I don't need this guy to be an all-pro, but if you could get a guy that's going to be a 10-year answer at the center spot, I get it. People look at these mock drafts. They see center as not like this – premium position. And it's not on the same level as a tackle, a corner. I get that, right? And they say, oh, well, the mocks are telling me he should go 40. So why should we take him at 25? at the end of the day, in 4 or 5 years, if he's even an average starting center, you're not going to give a shit. You're just going to say, okay,
You're not.
it was a good pick. We got a starting center. You know how valuable that
I wouldn't
is?
even say that though, Chris. Come October, you're not going to give a shit.
Exactly.
October,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're only going to be mad in April. You're going to be mad on Friday when we take them. After that, you have time to cool off, and then once the season starts, and Daniel Jones is back there with 4 seconds, 5 seconds to throw the ball, and Barkley's running through holes that you can push a pickup truck through, you're not going to be mad anymore.
I'm a big JMS fan. I love him. Yeah. So the thing that I loved was watching him in drills in the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Dude, manhandled guys. Guys were like going back 10 steps. He was that powerful and physical, and they couldn't get past him at all.
And the thing about those drills too, it's a disadvantage to the offensive line in those one-on-one drills.
Yeah.
Disadvantage.
And he destroyed them all, man. They couldn't get past them for love nor money. So,
and again, like you said, like all you guys, it's not a sexy pick. I understand that. I understand positional value. That's why I said there's certain guys that I would take above the center, but it's only like maybe 5 guys realistically that I wouldn't. And you don't think they're going to be,
there, which is why you're pounding the table for Schmitz.
Yeah. That's exactly why I am where I am right now, because I know I get people call me crazy. You know, you're crazy taking center. All these, I don't think these people are going to be there.
Yeah. I don't think you're crazy. I'm leaning corner. But listen, if Forbes is there and Schmitz is there, I'll be happy either way. Like there's questions to Forbes' game. Like everybody discounts like his size, and they're like, oh, they could get like that's a thing. Like that's something I'm concerned with. The guy was 165 pounds. If you're asking him to be a man press cover corner, good luck going up against a guy like Debo or DK Metcalf. Like that's not easy. So yeah, I think there is concerns to some of these guys. Ringo has all the measurables, but he has tape problems that you're like his hip fluidity. It's not all there, but he's got the 200-pound frame. He's over 6 foot. He's got long arms. And he had a great year 2 years ago while at Georgia, but every one of these guys has question marks. I think there's only 3 or 4 guys that I'm really confident at the cornerback spot. And after that, like if the Giants want to go John Michael Schmitz over a guy like Forbes, like, okay, by all means, like I'd be completely for that.
I probably would, man. I would still consider trading down in the first round, the bottom of the first round, and taking Schmitz. That might be smart.
That's ideal. Then you get the best of both worlds. Yeah,
exactly. Then you could accrue that extra pick that I'm talking about, and then you can attack corner and receiver in the second or third round.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's where all the value is in second, third, even the fourth round.
Oh yeah,
a lot of your team comes from
a lot of superstars in this draft, but there's a lot of value.
Yeah, and the Giants need that, and the Giants need depth and a lot of other things. But shouts to Tudo for the $1.99 Super Jam.
Hey, my Italian paisan brother.
I was just giving away my government name.
What's up, Tudo?
It was going to come out at some point, I guess. Got a Bills fan in the chat. My Bills going to get that ring soon. Well, I mean, we're not rooting against you. We're not the Jets, so
they got a shot.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a lack of chances though for the Bills.
Did anyone believe JJ would be a number 1 in the draft? Are you talking about Justin Jefferson? Because I think that's a yes.
Oh, yeah. No, I think what he was saying, because I said earlier, there's no wide receivers in this draft class that I view as a number 1. And that's a fair point to make. But I could just as easily argue, but look where they got him. They got him in the back end of the first round. I could point to several other wide receivers. Michael Thomas was like, what was he, like a 5th round pick or whatever? Second round. Tyreek Hill was a 5th round pick. So, so many wide receiver, like wide receiver typically is a position where you could get really good value at. It's not easy to always find that guy. But to me, especially in a draft class like this, where it's not, there may be a diamond in the rough like a Justin Jefferson. It could happen. It happens in a lot of drafts. Like you go back to 2020, nobody thought that Deebo Samuel was probably going to turn out to be the player that he did. A.J. Brown was going to turn out to be the player that he did. DK Metcalf, I don't understand how he dropped with the combine that he had, but he dropped. He was a second-round pick. But every year, there's talent to be had at the wide receiver position. But in a draft like this where there's no Jamar Chase, like there's no guy that going into the draft, you're like, for sure, this guy, like next year, Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. I know that. Jamar Chase, you knew that. Jalen Waddle, I knew that. I thought he was going to be I still think he's going to be the best wide receiver in that draft class. That's how high I think of him. I liked him more than Jamar Chase. So I'm a big fan of Jalen Waddle. This year, I don't see it. I don't see that guy for sure. And if you don't see that, and you have more pressing needs at the cornerback spot where I think it was Alex or maybe it was Donald that was touching on it earlier, it's really hard to find supreme talent at that cornerback position as you go along later in the draft.
Yeah.
If you love Deonte Banks, man, you take him. You think about what we could do in this defense. If you could get a lockdown corner, oh my God, with the front seven we got now, Wink's going to have a field day. So, yeah, I think you get value at the wide receiver spot. I think you could get quality contributors in the 3rd, 4th round of this year's draft. I'd sooner take the corner or even the center, like Dashy's saying.
So I've got a question for the panel here. I've got 3 corners and 3 receivers that I think there's a good chance will be in our range, right? I'm not saying because obviously you're guessing, but just looking at the draft boards and stuff like that. So Joey Porter, Emmanuel Forbes, and Deonte Banks at corner. Who would you rank 1 to 3?
You want me to? I'll start real quick.
Okay.
Forbes is 3rd for me out of those 3 because of the reason I said earlier, and he's really good. He's a playmaker, 6 interceptions. I get all that.
Yeah.
He's really good. And if he was 25 pounds heavier and he was as fast as he currently is, he might be 1 for me. But I worry about the size. I think that's a legitimate. I'm knocking him. I still think he's worthy of being a 1st-round pick. If we take him at 25, I'll be completely fine with it. But if you're asking me to rank him, he's 3 for me. The other 2, Banks had the more impressive combine.
Mm-hmm.
But Porter's physical traits, man,
Mm-hmm.
in this defense, like I look at a guy, 34-inch arms. The dude is like 6'2". I think he's 1 for me because I think his ceiling may be the highest of any corner in this draft. I think he has more questions to his game than arguably any of the top 4. So he's a bit of a risk. But I think his ceiling is super high. So I think I'd have Porter Jr. 1 and Deonte Banks a very close 2nd. I think both those guys are neck and neck for me. I like both those guys a lot.
Dash.
Yeah. You know what? I agree. I agree with Chris. Again, I'll say Joey Porter 1, Banks 2, and then Forbes 3, and all the reasons for Forbes. Like Forbes can easily be, 3rd. Like Tana said, the ball skills, the ability to read plays, the diagnose, plays. Like I remember the Will Levis on the screenplay when we got the interception, the pick 6. It's just a talent that he has that a lot of the guys in the upper half of this draft don't have. Even you can even say about Christian Gonzalez, just the way that he reads plays. But again, that size, and I think about the NFC East and the wide receivers that he would have to go against in the NFC East. It's just, I think it's just a little bit tough. Now, I wouldn't be mad if we got him. For me, Joey Porter, absolutely number 1 because, like I said, with that length and the press man ability and ball skills for him as well. I just like him over Banks. Banks is also can jam you at the line. The only weakness I see with Banks is once he has his back turned to the quarterback and that ball is in the air, it's 50-50 in some time. Getting his head around, knocking, locating the ball, things like that. But the best thing about that is you got to get off the line first. And he's one of the best jammers we have in the draft. So I don't think you lose with any one of those guys, but that's my ranking. The same thing as Tana said. It's going to be Porter, Banks, and then Forbes.
Agreed. Alex.
Yeah, I'm going to be boring and actually agree with the panel. Porter doesn't have a ton of ball production, which is kind of like what Adoree is right now. I think Deonte Banks is a little bit more versatile. I think he could play a little bit of his own defense, but I think Joey Porter just fits this system like a glove. And he's probably, I would just say he's the number 1 corner. Behind him is Deonte Banks. Behind him is Emmanuel Forbes, who, to be fair, I haven't watched, but I've heard some things. I've read some scouting reports and all that sort of stuff.
I agree with that. I love the fact that Joey Porter is good as a 2nd generation player as well. So he's going to have that football IQ.
Good point.
From his dad, like he's going to want to work and to be the best, and he's already got that kind of in his blood. And I think that's going to help. I also love the size, man. Like that, he's a big physical dude, 6'2", much more size than like Banks, and definitely more size than Forbes. Very worried about Forbes. Like he's so lanky, man, and then I think going against physical receivers, like he can get.
I still think he'd be a really good player. I just think he's more questionable than those other guys, which is why I'd feel more comfortable.
Forbes is the ball hawk of the 3.
Yeah,
so if you want to think about Forbes, he's got the most pick 6s in college last year, and 6 interceptions. So you can't dismiss that. Like ball hawks are hard to find. So like if we did select him, I'd still be happy because I don't think we have very many playmakers in the secondary.
We had 6 interceptions last year as a team.
Exactly. So like Forbes could be that playmaker.
And I will say a lot of that goes to our run defense, though, because we couldn't stop the run. So, like, when you can't stop the run, you're super predictable, right? Like, teams aren't throwing on 3rd and 11. They're throwing on 3rd and 2 or 2nd and 4. So, we just getting better at the run, which we're clearly going to be this year with the additions we've made. That's going to lend itself to more interceptions.
Yeah. Thing about Banks, though, is he ran a 4.3 40 time, which is absolutely insane for me. Like, it's mind-blowing.
4.36 was it, or 4.35? It was ridiculous.
It was just
so did Forbes though. Forbes was in the 4.3s, right?
Forbes well, it was better than Forbes. I think it was the 3rd highest.
Was it? Yeah.
Of all defensive backs. So, like his numbers were mental, crazy. So, I do love Banks as well. So, I'm very excited about Banks and Porter. Let's have a touch on the 3 receivers that I've got in our range. Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, and Quentin Johnson.
Man,
I'll talk about it from a Giants context.
You go first. Go ahead.
I'll go. I'm going to go Addison. I've heard from Patricia Traina that he's number 1 on our board, actually, at the wide receiver spot. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's what she's told me that her sources have said. Addison's our number 1 wide receiver. And I understand why. He's versatile. I think he fits the scheme. He's got a little more height to him, obviously, than Flowers. Flowers, to me, is a bit more explosive, even though Addison's pretty explosive, too. But I'd have Addison 1. I'd have Flowers 2, and I'd have Johnston 3. And I don't even know if I think Johnston's the 3rd best out of the 3, but for the Giants, I think he is. I don't think he fits our scheme as well as the other 2. So that's why I'd have that ranking.
Agreed. Dash.
Yeah. Again, we're going to be boring. I like Addison first. He's my top wide receiver. I like him more than JSN, to be honest. A lot of it has to do with the Pittsburgh tape rather than the USC tape. A lot of people say, he had his year.
He had 1,700 yards with Pittsburgh or something, right?
Yeah.
19 years old, too.
Because he had to be the guy. And then when he went to USC, he no longer had to be the guy. There was more weapons there. And you saw his production go down. But when they needed to make a play and the ball was in his vicinity, he made plays still when they needed him. Flowers, like you said, explosive, a slot guy, could possibly play outside in a pinch. You don't want him to be out there, though, really. But when it comes to Quentin Johnson, I don't trust him. And it's the contested catches. Yes, he makes them, but he doesn't high point the ball. I have issues with that. If you're 6'2", 6'3", like he is, and you're not high pointing the ball, when you play NFL types of corners, your chances of getting there is it's not there. You have to be able to high point the ball. And I know in the combine, he made an emphasis of making sure he was catching with his hands, no body catches. And at the pro day, he emphasized on it again. But when you look at the tape of Quentin Johnson, when he's playing, against a defense, he tends to be a basket catcher. So
that's something I noticed, man. Like at the high point, he doesn't catch like that. He kind of catches in his midriff, which is a concern for me. Like that's a massive red flag.
You see that a lot with smaller receivers like Wan'Dale Robinson. You see him catch the ball like that.
Yeah.
Sterling Shepard, in some cases, he catches the ball like that. But when you're 6'2", 200 pounds, high point that ball, man. Especially in the conference that he played in. Once you get into the NFL, we'll see what happens against NFL, corners. But that's just my hesitation on Quentin Johnson. I don't like that part of his game.
I didn't like that either. That's why I've got him 3rd as well.
Yeah. So, but if he drops, maybe, if you want to go that route, I can't be mad. Obviously, these guys get paid to make these picks. I don't, but that's just my opinion on them.
Yeah. Alex, and please tell the streets to call you after the show.
Yes, Joe Shane's calling me, of course. We won't be hearing from that phone anymore. Anyway, I'm probably going to be boring and side with the panel again. The thing with Quentin Johnson is not even just like the stuff you guys pointed out. And it's kind of my argument for this whole T. Higgins thing, the anti-T. Higgins train. Not that he's a bad receiver or nothing, but like, the Giants don't throw the 50-50. They don't. Kenny Galladay, they had 50-50, and we saw where that went. So probably be Addison. I see Addison is just like, he looks like who's going to be the pick at 25. I don't know if he is. We'll see if like another team gets him. Then Zay Flowers, who we talked about last night, who's a little bit more explosive, has a little bit more of a drop history, and then Quentin Johnson at number 3. I mean, there's a lot of talent with Quentin Johnson, just some technical issues, as you guys pointed out, and just not a fit for Big Blue.
That's the thing for me. Yeah, like for certain teams, I think Quentin Johnson might be one out of those 3. But for the Giants, I don't think it's a good fit.
No, not at all. And real quickly before I get to this question, Chris, I know you got to go on New York Revival. Final thoughts, and also give us who the Giants are picking at 25.
All right. First off, thank you for having me on. Always love coming on here whenever I can.
Absolutely.
I try to pop on whoever asks me to come on. I always love talking Giants with anybody in the community. I appreciate
love your work, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thanks, guys, man. I appreciate it. As far as the draft, I've had a hot take now for 2 weeks, and I'm sticking with it. It's in my gut. When I look at the board and I look at the teams picking around us, what I think they're going to do, I think we're going to trade up. I think the Giants are going to trade up. I think we're going to move up to about 19 with the Bucks, and we're going to go up and get a corner. And this is all dependent on that being a scenario where Deonte Banks or Porter Jr. is there. But I think the Giants, if they want one of those 2 guys, if they fall to a certain spot, and I think that's around the spot where they'd be willing to pull the trigger, probably talking about giving up a 3rd-round pick to make that move, I think they're going to be willing to do it when push comes to shove because it's such a pressing need, and it would mean so much to this defense if we were able to add one of those 2 individuals. So that's my prediction. I think we move up to 19 or 18 with the Lions or the Bucks and give up a 3rd, and we get Deonte Banks or Porter Jr. That's my prediction.
All right. Well, Chris, it was fun having you on. Would love to have you on again, of course. And by the way, let's go Knicks, right? Yeah.
We're closing it out. Well, I'm going to be honest. I think the Cavs rebound game 5. I think they find a way to win that game, but we close it out. You're not beating us at the Garden. We close it out.
Remember we did a stream and we were like, who the Giants, who the Knicks should get? Jalen Brunson. How right were we? We were right all along.
I'm going to tell you right now, Jalen Brunson, that dude is this is now the 2nd year in a row where he was the better player on the court against Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs. That dude is the most underrated player in the NBA. I'm not going to go as far to say he's a superstar yet, but he's right there. Like, he's damn good. And Nick said one more big piece next year. They're going to be right in the thick of it. Like, this team's so fun. And you talk about a Knicks Heat 2nd-round series. If that happens, oh, my God. But yeah, I had a lot of fun, guys, man. I always love talking to you guys. Dash, thanks for popping on. No yeah, thank you to all the support, everybody listening, and yeah, let's knock this draft out of the park, guys.
Appreciate you. Peace out, man. All right, so I'm gonna
regarding Jordan Addison briefly, man, it's his route running for me, which is just ridiculous, man. Like, it's so good. He's able to go in and out, like he sails inside, then goes the other way without like breaking his speed. Like he actually can get an extra level. Like, he's just so good at running routes, man. Like, it's so seamless for me. Like, his hip movement is phenomenal. That's the thing, and he's able to get open like with his route running, and he's so good at getting open with that. And what I will say about Zay Flowers is Steve Smith Sr. Loves him, absolutely loves him. He says he's his favorite receiver. So you maybe look at that too, because obviously he knows his shit as a very good receiver in his day too. So yeah, I like Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison, but maybe Addison's route running for me might sneak ahead. Yeah. But I think Flowers is so explosive; it's very exciting.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to Addison, and I said it last year, looking at him at Pittsburgh, high praises, high comp for him is Stephon Diggs. I think that's the mold. Stephon Diggs at his best, that's what I think he can be around what Stephon Diggs is. A guy that was smaller, but absolutely killer of a route runner. And then has that dog in him like Stephon Diggs does. To go get that ball. Not the biggest guy on the field, not at all. But for some reason he will come down with the ball. And that made me think about Stephon Diggs. And again, this is him back in Pittsburgh. Um, and I still feel the same way about him, even with the with less production at USC. I just feel like it's that same player that you saw at Pittsburgh that you're going to get, in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. This is the Bills fan talking. What position you guys need in the first number? What number Giants pick? Giants pick at 25. Needs corner, edge, wide receiver, and center. Can't miss center, of course. Big Dash did state that Joey Porter Jr. is number 1 on his list. Wanted to point
For
that
those
out.
three, yeah. For those three, yeah, absolutely.
There's some buzz. Giants have interest in Jonathan Mingo. What are your thoughts on him? If anyone would like to take the mic on that one.
In day 2, for sure.
Yeah. I saw the smoke too. Well, first of all, let's just say, man, a lot of these rumors, they're coming out right now for a reason. It's smoke time. All the smoke is being released here. You can't believe everything, but do I think there's interest in Mingo? Absolutely. In the first round, I don't think that happens. That would be a heck of a jump. From him to go from where he was to a first rounder. I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's going to happen. Now I will say, if Kansas City likes him, Kansas City can pick whoever they want at 31 because there's no real need on that team. And if you just like a guy so much, or you think he brings that certain it that you're missing, then absolutely you draft whoever you want. But Mingo, man, and it's pretty a lazy comparison, because they went to the same college. But if you look at the size, 6'2", 220 pounds, he's like AJ Brown. Contested catches, I'm not saying that he'll come out and look like AJ Brown. I would love it if he did, and he was a New York Giant. But that's the comparison for me. Again, when I do comparisons, I do it at their best. AJ Brown type of possession receiver. Another guy that's a little bit more than a 50-50 ball guy. He can get open. He can run some routes. They used him more in the slot than on the outside at Ole Miss. But he's absolutely a guy that's capable of playing outside because we have more than enough slots in the New York Giants right now. This roster's full of slot receivers.
Absolutely full of them. Question for the panel before I go on to some more, and also the rest of this draft stuff is, obviously, I know Dash and I feel the same about this wide receiver class. I'm going to guess that Donald does as well. Do you think if the Giants take a step this year that they're legitimate number 1 wide receiver, if you want to, because there's a lot of people also saying, well, the Giants really don't need a number 1. They just need like a spread offensive like balanced talent. Do you think a possible number 1 comes via trade next year?
Next year, you're talking about after the season or during the season?
After the season.
I don't think via trade. I don't think via trade. It just depends on who's available and what position the Giants are in. Because for me, everybody wants a wide receiver 1, and I know why. Of course, everybody wants it. But when I think about Daniel Jones in this offense, and with his second year in this offense, you don't want to feel like he's forced to throw the ball to somebody. So so when people wanted like T. Higgins and bringing back Odell Beckham, which I was for Odell Beckham too, and when you bring in these guys, DeAndre Hopkins is another name that's out there that's floating around. But when you bring those guys in here, I think about Daniel Jones, and again, you want him to go through his progression without trying to force something to somebody. And when you do have these big name wide receivers, and you don't throw the ball their way or whatever, something could happen. There's egos involved, especially with a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, a guy that's older, seasoned. He's going to want the ball. And hopefully Daniel Jones can get the ball to him like that. But I just think about this system, and I think, and it's funny, wide receiver by committee, just like, you say running back by committee, but wide receiver by committee. Let certain people play certain roles. And again, if Joe Shane is focusing on wide receivers that can get separation quickly, I don't think it's necessary to spend, a lot of money or spend high draft capital trying to trade for another person.
Makes a lot of sense. Donald.
Yeah, it's really hard to speculate because a lot can change. There's a lot of variables. Obviously, we could draft a receiver and like say whatever round we take a receiver in this draft, he could develop and then be like, right, we're gonna ride with him. Or Waller could just be exactly what we're expecting him to be, have another 1,000-yard receiving year, and they're like, you know what, there isn't that necessity to spend big and trade for a receiver, but because of Joe Shane's experience with Buffalo, I wonder if he'd make a deal for Stephon Diggs. If Diggs was available, you could kind of picture that would be something that Joe Shane would do. But I think right now, I'm not on board with any massive trades right now because I'm kind of with Dash. I think Jones does better with multiple options. I think he also loves tight ends, as I mentioned. So I think Waller is actually the right pickup for us. I think he's gonna really thrive with a big pass catching tight end that can get open all over the field more than necessarily a receiver that'll just get downfield because we have options, and I think we're gonna get someone fast in the draft that will be able to go over the top because that's really what we need. Just someone that can go over the top, run decent routes, and I think Jones will find them. So I wouldn't say it's a necessity right now, but I would keep an eye out on Stephon Diggs. Not this year, but maybe next year if he stays with Buffalo.
I like it. Well, this brings me back to the point though. If you get a center, it helps everything else, man. I'm telling you, you need that extra time. These wide receivers need to get open. You need that deep ball to route, that deep route to develop. You need time in the pocket. Center helps everything. Center cures all. I'm on it. I'm on it.
Oh man, I must say I'm leaning closer by the day for center 25. That being JMS, of course.
Yeah, it's just that's the one thing. It's not a center. It's JMS.
It's
I'm
JMS.
I'm not picking any other center at 25 except him.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
Same mentality here. I think we have to trade up for Addison. Johnson might be the worst. Most talented, worst fit of the three. You'd have to trade up. Jordan Addison or Boston wide receiver. I would still go with Zay Flowers. This is a good question, panel. What are your thoughts on the other centers, Tittman and Stromberg? Personally, I'm not too big of a fan of Stromberg. I haven't watched Tittman. The kid from Michigan is pretty good, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
As a Notre Dame fan watching Jarrett Patterson, he's solid, but I don't think he has the flexibility and athleticism that this offense really needs. Like you see the Giants, they love pulling. I don't think Patterson is that type of player. I mean, what are your thoughts, guys, on the other centers? I'll start with Dash.
Yeah. Tippmann. The big thing about Tippmann is he's athletic. And my biggest argument against Tippmann is his leverage because he is a 6'6" center. And I would even say that, and a lot of other people might say this too, is Tippmann is probably a better guard because of how athletic he is and his ability to pull. And I remember in one of the mock drafts I did, I drafted Tippmann, but all of a sudden Oluwatimi was available too. And I said I took them both. I said I'll put Oluwatimi at center because I think he is a better center as far as what we need, and I put Tippmann at guard because again, everybody keeps talking about he can run a 4.9 40. All his RAS scores, this, that, and the other, his vertical. I don't need my center to jump high and run fast. I need him to be able to reach block. I need him to get to the second level. I need him to have strong hands. I need him to have quick hands. And Tippmann, again, has issues with leverage. He gets pushed back. But again, the strength of his athleticism, yeah. Can he get stronger? Absolutely. Can he get better leverage? Hopefully Bobby Johnson can coach better leverage out of him. But for me, it's Tippmann is behind even Whippler, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to Stromberg, I do like Stromberg. I think he needs a little bit more development. Could he be a guy that can possibly beat out Bredesen at the center position? Because right now, for me, the way the roster looks, Bredesen is probably the starting center with the guys that we have here. But I think a guy like Stromberg can eventually take over the center spot because he is growing on me. I'm watching Arkansas a little bit more, and I think he has some strengths there that I didn't see earlier. When you go back and you start to nitpick, yeah, Stromberg's growing on me a little bit, but he would be a guy maybe at 128, fourth round. Might be a little bit of a reach at 89, but if you really need a center, you can do that. And also another name is Juice Scruggs from Penn State. He's another center out there that could also play guard, but some good value there too.
Donald.
Keep an eye out on Tippmann because he's 6'6", but he's also super athletic. His feet are excellent. His footwork is excellent at the center position. Is actually better than John Michael Schmitz. He's more athletic than Schmitz. But I think the problem with Tippmann is actually possibly his size. He's 6'6". He's a little bit too upright, and so that's an issue there to keep an eye out on. But I think with development, I think he could be someone to keep an eye out on. But I really like Whippler. I think with him being a Buckeye, they do really well developing offensive linemen, and I think he comes from a good line of good coaching there. I think he's pretty NFL ready. So I like Whippler a lot. Other ones, Oluwatimi, we did the draft film on, Alex, and he doesn't impress me at like anything particularly, but he doesn't worry me at anything either. I think he's just solid in a bunch of different ways. Like I think if you found him in the fourth round, I think you would take him in the fourth round and be pretty comfortable with that. He just looks pretty solid without being outstanding at anything. But there's not really anything that really like worries me about his tape. Like I quite like that. Another one I quite like is an Alabama guy who I think could be found in the later rounds, Emi Ikior. I think you can find him in the guard spot or center spot, and I think he'd be really representative there. He's pretty athletic, and I like him a lot. So that's someone to keep an eye on. As for the other ones, Ricky Stromberg's good, man. I think he's good. I think there's a bunch of centers who I quite like. Like there's not really like Jared Patterson I wouldn't even consider, but the rest of them I actually quite like. I think they'll all be pretty good. Stromberg's fine, and Steve Avila is another one to consider, but I think he's going to be gone in the first round or very early second. But he's another one to keep an eye out on, man, because he's a strong dude, and I think though that I think a team like Buffalo or a team like Washington or whatever could maybe really do with an interior offensive lineman too. So they might steal and take him. But I still wouldn't consider anyone else in the first round but Schmitz. But in the later rounds and in the second downwards, all those guys I mentioned are going to be solid. So yeah, I quite like the center depth in this draft.
Going back, you did mention Whippler. I do like Whippler too. I do like that he has a wrestling background.
Mm-hmm.
That helps, especially at the center position, especially for a lot of linemen. If you have that wrestling, now that's the trenches all together, defensive and the offensive side. That the wrestling background, you have to have good handwork. You got to be able to maneuver, good hip work and things like that. And Whippler, even though he has shorter arms, I think that wrestling background helps him with his leverage.
Yeah.
And it helps him, when he's fighting with his hands, he's pretty good at it. So I do like Whippler a lot too. I feel the same way as you about Patterson. Again, he's another guy that's on the tall side, but he's a lot more stockier than Tippmann is. So a little bit harder to move. And again, just my, just a gut feeling for me is if you don't take Schmitz at 25, and I'm just thinking about a lot of the teams that picked before us at, in the second round, when we're sitting at 57, I think a lot of those centers might come off the board between that time because a lot of teams need a center. So again, when I'm pushing for the center position, or when I'm pushing for John Michael Schmitz, I should say, it's just because you have a chance to get your pick of the litter at the center spot, and you can get the number one center, or you could possibly get the third or fourth cornerback, or you can get the third or fourth wide receiver, but you got a chance to get the number one center. Consensus a lot. Some people might argue Tippmann too. But for me, it's a no-brainer because if you're sitting at 57 and then Schmitz and Whippler and Tippmann are gone, now you're talking about a reach at possibly 57. You're not going to go with Oluwatimi. You're not going to go with Stromberg at 57. Yeah. And then you're waiting at 89. And by the time you get from 57 to 89, that's another, 32 picks? And it's like, you're hoping that nobody else takes the center, and then you're stuck with like Alex Forsyth in like the 6th round or something crazy, you know.
Jacob's got a good question. What are y'all's opinion on Osiris Torrance? I'll start. I'm a Florida Gators fan. I love Osiris Torrance, but he's not a center. He's a guard, but he's so good. He's so good. He's an absolute man mountain.
He's big. Yeah, he's big.
Yeah, and although like I don't think he had the best combine, but I don't think it matters to me. I think he's just an absolute monster. His tape is crazy for me. Like he'll just manhandles you. He's just he'd be awesome for me because I think he'd open up a ton of road and space for Saquon or even Daniel Jones to run through because he's that much of a mauler. I think he'd open up a truckload of space for you at the guard. So I love Torrance, but I think he's going to go in the mid first round. I think he could go like 2021, even higher possibly.
I can see Seattle taking him with their 2nd pick. The short because what they're building right now in Seattle, last year they got 2 bookend tackles.
Yeah.
You know, they need interior line help. I can see them take, Osiris Torrance there because they still have an early 2nd round pick too. So they can fix their whole offensive line in 2 drafts.
Yeah, I think Osiris is the best interior offensive lineman in the draft.
Yeah. No, absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like Torrance. Got nothing against him. I mean, obviously there's that one issue about the shoulder and giving it up, which I don't have any concerns about. However, because our need at center and wide receiver and corner is so big, he's floated to the back of my mind. Listen, once again, not a knock against him, but at the end of the day, would I be mad if the Giants picked him? No. But at the same time, what's your plan if you do? Because like you get your center, we're gonna trot Bredesen over, and that's your starting center. You can't kick Glowinski out automatically, though he wasn't really good last year, because you're kind of tied to him, unless you do kick him out, which would be very interesting to see. But
Glowinski will be gone next year. He's unmovable this year, but I mean, you answered your own question there, man. He's not a long-term option, Glowinski.
No, I know.
And if you might even be more upside to have an awesome guard that you could start knowing that he's going to be here for the next 10 years, and maybe Bredesen just for a stopgap situation, and maybe draft a center in the 4th or 5th round, and then you go to Osiris Torrance. That's a possibility, man. It's not beyond the realms of possibility because Glowinski sucks balls. Like I think he's terrible. So I would love a replacement for him.
It's crazy to think about it because the last couple of drafts, we were picking pretty high, and we kind of already knew where we wanted to go. And for me, it's just so exciting at pick 25. Like I have thoughts of who we should take, who's going to be available, but I have no clue, and it's just exciting. I can't wait for this draft, man.
Oh yeah, me too.
I can't wait for this draft, man. And it's not just our picks. I want to see where a lot of these guys go, man. Because again, what happens at the front end of the draft can determine who's going to be available, once we get on the board. And man, I'm like I said, the unknown right now is just exciting to me. So I can't wait for Thursday night to get here.
I'm the same, man. There's so many guys in this draft I just love, and numerous rounds. So I'll be watching where they go and rooting for their success. Apart from if they play for Dallas and Philadelphia,
Eagles, and Washington, but they still, they're still them.
And New England.
I don't have that same hate for Washington that I do for like Philly or Dallas.
Oh yeah,
number one.
No, I agree.
Of just hate. But
they're just the little brother trying to get attention. That's how I see it. Shouts to Giants Chronicles podcast. I was actually on Gabe's podcast a few days ago. He says, did y'all see the Giants' new locker room? She should fire. We finally moved on from Wii Remotes. That was also last year as well, but apparently they made some new updates from what I'm seeing in the chat. And also apparently there was an.
Have you got photos? I've not seen it. If you can find them.
Yeah, actually, let's see if I could pull it up. I think okay. So this is like a 12-second video. I'm gonna bookmark here. It's from Justin. But I'm also just going to pull it up because I can do that. Okay, so this is, I'm going to start it from the beginning, obviously. This is the construction at least to my knowledge.
It happened fast. It really kind of took two tracks. One was kind of the physical infrastructure, so the facilities discussions and getting this room built out. But adjacent to that,
and that is the final product.
That's what's up.
Mm.
You know what?
Very
I thought
tasty.
they had like a regular room that had that
Yeah.
big, whiteboard on it, but I guess not.
That's an improvement to what it was during the pandemic. Where remember when Galen just had his little laptop?
The Wii remotes, as somebody said in chat.
A war room every year. That's what they do every year. I didn't know that. I just thought there was a room.
Yeah, that looks much better.
Do other stuff in, and then when it's time for the draft, they just bring in the whiteboards and they start going to work. But I didn't know.
And start playing bingo and all that.
Fancy.
Also, I think they sneak peek. I don't know if it was a sneak peek, but now I'm seeing pictures of Xavier McKinney's finger on the X-ray. I've seen that across Twitter, so that might be in the newest Giants life, I guess, from going back to the injury.
What it looked like? Oh, didn't.
I'd probably say corner, wide receiver, and center in no specific order. Maybe specific order. Depends who's on the board. But you were saying, Dash?
A middleman answer in no specific order.
Yeah, right. The middle, the X-ray. The X-ray, was it during, like, when he first hurt his hand or broke his hand, or is it?
I'm gonna guess so. I just like this is. I'm actually gonna pull it up because I could save the image. Let's pull it up right here.
Yeah, I've been so busy today, I haven't even got a chance to look around.
Yeah, I mean that's basically my mentality. Let's see. Here we go. And so this was Xavier McKinney's finger post accident. At least what we could think.
Oh yeah, that's definitely post.
Oh Jesus!
Toast.
That's 4 fingers. The whole, this everything.
Jesus Christ!
And it wasn't even a clean break. You see how jagged the break was?
Yeah.
Jeez. No
hey, listen, all I'm saying is, even when they were in Arizona playing basketball, just be careful, please. Just be careful, because God knows what will happen. I mean, just a short story before we revert back to the draft. I mean, Aaron Boone tore his ACL playing pickup basketball, and then the Yankees cut him in 2004. So for anyone who didn't know that, now you know that. And then we got A-Rod, so happily ever after.
Now Boone's the manager. Woohoo!
Anyway, so we did go over favorite selection for like each position, which Donald did a good job of. Which positions would you stay away from at 25? And I had a discussion with somebody earlier this week about the tight end position, and I'm going to say the tight end position because the guy's point was basically, well, Darren Waller is kind of injury prone. Bellinger, he was selected in the 4th round, and it's, to me, it's just this isn't like we saw what the New England Patriots were trying to do, and what they're still trying to do. Yeah. A few years ago, they got Henry, they got Jonnu Smith, they traded Jonnu Smith. Now they got Gesicki. They have no wide receivers that are talented at all. And this isn't like the NFL like it was maybe 10, 20 years ago. Yeah. So I'm not a fan. And listen, look, Michael Mayer, I mean, trust me, I watched him. I'm a Notre Dame fan, as I probably mentioned before. But tight end, man. And in the first, like you could, I hate everyone saying, the center in the first round is garbage. Look at the centers. Like Travis Frederick is one. He was very successful for the Cowboys for a few years. There's a couple others you add to the list. There hasn't been one successful first-round tight end in a while. And the closest you could get to naming is TJ Hawkinson, but he's playing for the Vikings. He's playing for his former rival, if you will. So tight end would be that. It depends where they go with like D tackle or edge. Like I'd be okay with Kancey. I haven't done my edge work, and I don't know that they'll go that, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'd stay away from quarterback. I'd stay away from running back. I don't think they're going to take any of those positions, but tight end has been heating up, whether it's rumors or not. Dash,
smoke.
What positions are you staying away from at 25?
No, it's fun. There's only one position that'll make me mad at 25. Like I might be disappointed with other positions, But tight end will make me mad if we went with a tight end, and it has nothing to do with Michael Mayer or what's the Dalton Kincaid. Those are kind of like those first round tight ends. Nothing about them. It's just that I don't think we need a tight end that high this year. And
Mhm.
then also the tight end class is deep. It's a very deep class, and those same type of receivers, the Michael Mayer and the Dalton Kincaid, you can find similar players in the third, fourth, and even fifth round with some of these tight ends. Like for me, one the Latu out of Alabama is a pretty good receiving tight end. You got Mallory from Miami, that's a pretty good tight end.
Payne
Davis
Durham.
Allen, yep, yep,
Big
yep. I
Payne,
forgot.
Durham's a
Yeah,
beast.
yep.
Josh Wiley, I like Wiley.
Wiley too. Yeah. And Wiley spells his name a little bit funny too.
Mm.
And then who's it? Brenton Strange from Penn State is a guy that's
Yep.
going to be a little bit later. Zach Kuntz is climbing up boards. But yeah, man, it's a lot of tight ends in this draft that I don't think even with Michael Mayer just standing there and I know they call him Baby Gronk. I mean, it's cool, but I don't think I like what Bellinger gave us last year, and I think if Bellinger would have played those 5 games that he missed with a broken eye socket, you probably would have seen a lot more productive, especially in those games against those teams that we played that he was out. But I'm really high on Bellinger. I know we do need another tight end, but the first round is not the place to get one, in my opinion.
Absolutely agree, Donald.
Oh yeah, I'd be super pissed if we took Mayer or Dalton Kincaid in the first round, and it's nothing against them. As you guys have mentioned, there's just so much depth at the tight end spot in the draft. Plus, we're pretty good at tight end, man. We go Waller. He's going to be our number one. And Bellinger, don't sleep on Bellinger. We missed him when he missed those 5 games.
Yep.
We missed him a lot. And for me, like he was probably our like. If you looked at our draft, he's probably our second hit after Kayvon. Don't sleep on Bellinger. I think he's fine. I think he's going to be a very fine tight end too. And then like Cager did a fine job as a third tight end, but if you want a better one, you can find one in the 5th or 6th round. I think easily. So yeah, I would be pissed at that. And Bijan Robinson, I do not want to be drafting him in the first round. I would be super pissed at that too. That's really about it, because I think if we took Clancy, I think he's going to be good. But again, we've kind of okay now at run stopping defensive tackle. Now we're kind of good at that now. We've with Eshawn Robinson in there, he's going to be awesome, and got Leo and obviously Dex and stuff like that. So and then Nunez Roches. So we're kind of good now for interior alignment. So I don't think maybe necessarily need Elijah Clancy, but he's someone to keep an eye out on. He's pretty damn good. But there's really no one other than those 2 guys I mentioned, Bijan Robinson and the tight ends, that I'd be super pissed at. Obviously quarterback, but we're not going to mention quarterback. There's no reason to even consider quarterback.
Hendon Hooker.
I know, right? Edge.
Charlie and me.
Edge. I think there's some edges that you can attack in the later rounds. But we do need to get an edge. We definitely need to get an edge.
If Nolan Smith dropped all the way to 25, I'm taking a long look at him.
I would consider it.
The versatility.
I would even consider it in the 50 range if he drops. I'm not saying he will, but Ojulari's brother, BJ Ojulari.
Yeah.
He's actually a better pass rushing prospect than our guy, Aziz. Yeah. He's got a lot more in his bag. So I would certainly consider him. And I think maybe having the 2 brothers in the team might help. Might be good for chemistry and stuff. But I would consider that in the second round.
Yeah, definitely. Please do not speak that into existence, Jacob. We don't want JMS going to Philly.
He doesn't have to worry about the Philly drafted Cam Jurgens last year, and as soon as Kelsey's ready to retire, Jurgens is going to be the center for for Philly.
And even then, they could trade up because I think they're 10 and 30 this year. So I don't think they're really in the range.
You know who I don't want on Philly? I don't want Bijan Robinson. That's what I don't want Philly to get. I don't care if Dallas gets him. I don't want Philly to get him.
A name I've
I think they're
heard.
going to get Van Ness. I think Van Ness is going to Philly.
I like Van Ness a lot.
He's good. I would someone I would consider 25.
A name
6 twins. Jesus Christ.
This is why it's draft week, folks. A name that I've seen in connection with the Eagles is Jahmyr Gibbs from Bama. I don't know if he's gonna be. I don't know if he's gonna be a first rounder though, but we'll see. So
Locked him to Kansas City. Gibbs.
I remember he was being associated with them workouts wise a few days ago. So you may not be wrong there. We were just talking a little bit about it. Which positions do the Giants need to stack up depth wise? Edge is got to be probably one of my top ones. I mean, wide receiver, you need somebody at the front end. Outside of Ojulari, who gets injured a lot as of last year, you got Cave on the other side. You can't leave him on an island. No. I mean, he needs to do a lot of different things technique wise, and maybe he'll gain some more respect this year. But Jihad Ward can't be your second pass rusher. It can't be Tamon Fox. You gotta. There's a lot of guys I like. Thomas Incoom, he's a small school kid. There's another guy I like. Jose Ramirez out of Eastern Michigan. There's a couple of guys on that list. Guard depth is actually we don't know with Josh Azudu. He's got that neck injury. So I mean, guard depth is there. I mean, running back, that's technically depth. Breeda's only on a 1 year, and even with the Saquon situation. So, I mean, my focus with depth right now is probably edge, maybe linebacker as a touch too, maybe. Dash, where should the Giants stack up on depth?
Yeah, so another way to put that question too is like, where do what positions do we double up on? I think we do need to double up on wide receiver. Too.
Okay.
I think we should draft 2 wide receivers in a strong wide receiver class. I think one edge would be nice to add. I do agree with linebacker now. I like Jack Campbell. The chances of him being there at 57, very, very slim. But if Jack Campbell happens to be there at 57, that's a guy. And as much as I love Darian Beavers, I like to talk about Darian Beavers a lot. I have high expectations for Darian Beavers. Darian Beavers does not stop me from drafting the Jack Campbell at 57. As much as I like, and I'm high on Darian Beavers. I talk about him a lot, and I think if we didn't get a linebacker, it's almost like another rookie season for Darian Beavers. If he can stay healthy, if he can look like what he was looking like last year during training camp and during the preseason before he got hurt. Outside of that, I think we need 2 cornerbacks, and then safety. Safety is another spot. I like Dane Belton. I like our secondary coach. But I need some more competition in there for that safety spot next to McKinney. And also because of McKinney's going to be up for a deal, I think we need to find a guy that's versatile. So here's another question to you guys. If a guy like Brian Branch is available at 25, what do you guys think about him?
I like Branch. I don't know if I would particularly say yes. I do like Branch as a prospect, though. It's just it depends on so many different things.
Because you don't want to pair him with McKinney because their style is so much the same.
Of course.
But I just think about it, I don't think we're going to be able to re-sign everyone. And we're going to be mad. We're going to be mad that we lose somebody. And I can possibly see us losing a guy like McKinney just because of the timing. The same time he needs a deal, you're probably looking at Andrew Thomas. And so, what do you do? And then regular holes that you need to fill too. So McKinney is one of those guys that I want him to be a Giant. I want him to be here long term, but I can see if we lose anybody, it might be a guy like McKinney, and we're trying to find a replacement for him.
Donald.
Big Dash, you're living up to your moniker, man. Big Dash knows. I agree with you, man. I think McKinney is the most likely option of all the people that are going to be extended not to get extended. But I don't go first round safety purely because I just because of value. I don't really value going safety in first rounds traditionally. But safety in like the 3rd round, 4th round, 100%. I would actually prioritize safety ahead because after Love's gone, there is kind of a there is kind of a need there, man. Like McKinney, yeah, one side, but when he was hurt, we've struggled, I think. So I would,
back there.
yeah. So I would like another safety. Edge, 100%. I also think that his injury history isn't going to magically go away. So we do need another edge that you can rely upon that's going to spell Aziz, because Aziz's been hurt like multiple years now. And I like him. Don't get me wrong. I like him. But I do think that you're going to find a good edge in day 2. And we have to jump in and we have to take it, because there's a very good opportunity that he's going to be our starting edge opposite Kayvon Thibodeau at some point this year if we get a good guy in there. Other ones I would think about, linebacker. I would consider a linebacker like in the 4th round. Like I think if Demarion Overshone or I particularly like Owen Papo. I really like him. I think if you found him in day 4, I think day 4 in round 4, I think that's someone that you can have as a high upside kind of guy. So I think you can get a linebacker at those kind of in that range, the 4th or 5th round. Running back, I think you'll be drafting a running back to be running back too, because Breed is only on a 1-year deal. I think you're going to probably want someone who's going to be back up to Saquon. There's a ton of really nice running backs in this draft. I mean, Tajay Spears is
Muhammad Ibrahim.
I really love Mo Ibrahim, actually. I really like him.
Guess who he ran behind?
Yeah, and then there's other guy.
John
What's his
Michael
name?
Schmitz.
I call him Abracadabra. What's his name? I can't even pronounce his name. Abracadabra.
From Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Running back from Pittsburgh. Yeah. I can't.
I call him Abracadabra.
His first name is Israel. I call him.
Yeah, that's it. Israel Abracadabra.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? That's hilarious. I like that. That is hilarious.
Hopefully, if he gets drafted by the Giants, he'll make some magic. Also, damn it, what's the other kid's name? Holy shit, I just forgot.
Hull, Evan Hull.
No, that's a good one though.
You talking about a later round guy?
Yeah. Holy shit.
Tavion Thomas is another one. Tavion Thomas.
Charbonnet at UCLA.
Zach. Yeah. I like Dwayne McBride. If you guys have not seen Dwayne McBride, he's from UAB.
Yep.
Check him out. Those watching, check out McBride. Fantastic guy. Again, it's UAB. But he gives you the best of both worlds. Bigger guy. One cut and go, but also has some elusiveness. So I'm a big fan of Dwayne McBride. I think he goes in like the 3rd, 4th round though.
Yeah, this is a good question. How would you guys feel about a guy like DTR, aka Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA? He is the quarterback. The only other QB we have is Tyrod, and people like that. I wouldn't mind him. I've been watching DTR for 2 years now. I mean, as a developmental pick, late rounds. I mean, you don't have any other quarterbacks on the roster. Why not at this point?
He's sneaky good.
He is.
He's a guy that I can see, and I hate it. I can see like Philadelphia picking him up late as a backup for Jalen Hurts, because you don't have to switch up your offense too much when you have a guy like that behind him. Because what did they pick up? Mariota. That's what the Eagles have now, right? They picked up Mariota as a backup.
That might be true.
Yeah,
I forgot he existed.
Minshew's gone. Yeah, Mariota, right?
But he existed.
I mean, the way he quit on the Falcons last year. I mean, just.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, 2 more prompts before a final mock draft, and I know we kind of touched a little bit on this. Late round gems for depth positions for the Giants, or just late round gems overall. I touched on a few with the edge: Thomason, Coombe, Jose Ramirez. Olusegun Oluwatimi is another one for the interior offensive line. There's probably more that's going to come to my head automatically. Payne Durham, tight end. Lonnie Phelps is also solid. Keanu Benton, I like as a D tackle.
Yeah, there's a wide receiver, Matt Landon, that's pretty good at wide receiver. Lonnie Phelps is a good name, though. I like that. I like Lonnie Phelps. Again, another late guy is Britton Strange. Again, tight end.
Yep.
From Penn State. Mallory is another one. You know what? As far as quarterbacks go, too, Clayton Tune, I wouldn't mind him. As a backup to Daniel Jones. You can go Malik Cunningham too if you're looking at quarterbacks, developmental to be
I was going to
behind.
mention Cunningham. Yeah.
Yeah, and man, yeah, it's a lot of guys. It's a small school. Cornerback, last name is Slater. I believe it's Southern Alabama. He's pretty good. And then wide receivers, another wide receiver is Dallas Daniels, and he's out of Jackson State. He's a route guy. I think because of the competition he played against, he could still give you some return. He could be like a returner. But I know we pretty much picked up Jeff Smith to take over returning responsibilities. But yeah, man, this draft is deep, man, in a lot of positions. But another guy you named earlier, Jose Ramirez, I like him a lot too. I think he has something about him, man.
I think so as well. Shout out to Max on the beat as well. The other guy, now you just reminded me of Jackson State, Aubrey Miller. I really love what he did at the Senior Bowl. Yeah. I would love him on the Giants.
He's a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder. He always feels like he has something to prove. I remember seeing an interview with him, and he didn't get a lot of Power 5, looks, and he ended up going, a lot of guys are like that. But he plays with a certain, like a chip, like he always has something to prove. And you like those type of guys on your team, he would be a special teams guy, though, starting off for sure. But when when we talk about linebacker, there's 2 linebackers on the team now that are going to get spots that are not starters, and that's I can't remember his name now. Coughlin, Connor
Coughlin,
and then the guy from Penn State that we picked,
Cam Brown.
Cam Brown. Yep, those 2 guys are like automatic spots to special teams, man. They're like Pro Bowl special teamers almost. So and that takes away from your linebacker room.
Yeah, and it would be amazing if we actually got that unit actually fixed.
Special teams have been trash.
It's been pretty bad.
And that coach has survived 3 regimes, right?
Yeah,
he came over with Shermer. I
Shermer, Judge, and now Dable.
And special teams hasn't been any better.
It's like his story's great, but his unit sucks. Just gonna be fair. We'll probably cut Holmes if we draft a corner. He's solid depth. That's why I don't think so. And I'm not the biggest Darnay Holmes fan. I'm not going to lie. But they could maneuver a few guys. Like if Flock goes to the outside, or maybe Flock goes in the slot when you have a Warrior as the second corner, maybe potentially get a guy in this draft. Nick McLeod, though he was exposed, he's still a pretty good corner for what he is. So
I'm still mad he dropped that interception in Minnesota.
Oh, I remember that. That was on the first drive against Adam Thielen. I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
I've got a couple of guys to consider.
Okay.
Darius Rush. I thought he was awesome in the Senior
South
Bowl.
Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, I love him. I also think that, like, as a guard prospect in the later rounds, what about Cody Mock from?
I love him.
Yeah, the guy with no front.
Didn't give up a single sack.
Looks like a hockey player, man. You see, he's no front teeth.
His draft buzz profile is absolutely scary. Like that shit gives you nightmares.
Yeah.
He could play every position.
Like you're talking hog molly, he is the hog of all mollies.
He's like a better Nick Gates.
Yeah,
right.
Like, I would consider
like
him.
David Dillon, when you think about it, he's like a David Dillon, could possibly be better. I just like him because he had he rocks out with his belly. His belly showing all the time, man.
That was a Gates
the confidence of a fat man with his belly out.
Yeah, that was a Gates thing, but Cody Mock is he. I'm like during the Senior Bowl, I'm like, who is this guy? And then I watched the tape, and then I watched his reps. I'm like, okay, time to take him seriously. Time to take him seriously.
And I also quite like Pickens as an edge.
Who?
Zach Pickens.
Yep.
Ooh, Ohio State.
Yep.
Right? No, that's not Ohio State. That's Zach.
South Carolina.
Zach.
No, yeah, that's it. Zach Pickens.
You're talking about Zach Harrison.
I'm thinking about Zach Harrison, at Ohio State. I'm mad he didn't run the 40 because there was a big buzz about him being able to run a 4.40 at his size, and he didn't run.
Henley is also another name. He's risen up draft boards. Like I've seen first, second round mocks. Diane Henley.
Pickens or Harrison?
Diane Henley.
Yeah. And
out of Washington State, yeah.
And he actually came from Nevada. He transferred over to Washington State. Yep.
So, And then I guess final question before we head into our final mock draft. Notable players that the Giant, like your favorite players, not necessarily, and I know, yes, we have a lot of needs, not necessarily in the Giants window, but you really like them. So, for instance, I'm going to throw one out there, not because of the position, but just going to throw it out there. For instance, Donald may say Anthony Richardson, even though quarterback is not a need. Or go with like let's say running back in the first round, though we don't need one. So, like notable players that are not in the Giants window, but you like them.
Yeah. First one for me is Will Anderson. Love Will Anderson. Now, I'm an Alabama fan, so there's some bias there, but I think Will Anderson is going to be special.
Michael Mayer for me.
Yeah, but he might be available. I wouldn't go there.
I would not go there. Yeah, but
I like Nolan Smith too. Another edge rusher. I like a lot of these early edge rushers. That Van Ness. I like Van Ness. I would love to be able to get Van Ness on this team just in some capacity. He reminds me, and he didn't get this kind of playing time because he didn't start. But Iowa's funny like that. Iowa doesn't, they believe in like seniority, and they start their seniors. Like it's like high school football in some cases. They start their seniors, but Van Ness, he reminds me of like a poor man's Watt, man. Just a high motor, strong, good, plays with good leverage to be as tall as he is because he's like 6'5". And when you look at like T.J. Watt, as tall as he is, I believe he's like 6'5" too. But he plays with good leverage and has an array of moves. And I think Van Ness is pretty similar, with the leverage and be able to do moves. There's another guy that I like a lot who started off, pretty deep as far as his rankings, and he got mocked all the way up to like the end of the first round. It's Herbig from Wisconsin, Nick Herbig.
Yep, Nate Herbig's brother.
Yeah,
he's good.
And I like him a lot. He's a little bit undersized for the edge. But man, when you look at Nick Herbig, his tape, he has some wild plays. It's not consistent, but he has some wild plays, and he's going to make a team happy. He's one of those rotational guys that you can see be a fan favorite. Not necessarily a star, but a fan favorite. But yeah, that's the list of guys for me.
Donald.
Well, I mean, I mentioned the guys that I like in the first round. One of them is Osiris Torrance. I don't think the Giants will draft him, but he's one of the guys that I'm a big fan of. I'm a huge fan of Tank Dell. I've loved him like from day one. So he's like the one dude who I'm rooting for, no matter where he goes, up in Dallas or Philadelphia. Right, but like he's so good.
6 feet tall. What about him? If he was 6 feet tall. Oh
but the thing is, he plays bigger than his size because he's so good. So if I were the Giants, I'd hold out and just draft him in day 2, and I'd be just so happy. I'd probably get his jersey. I'm not much of a fan. And yeah, I'm rooting for Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback, but not this year. I think he needs another year of development under someone. I have a sneaky, I don't know why, but I have a sneaky bet like maybe Seattle would take him, then have him sit for a year under Geno, and then just go off in 2024. That's kind of my prediction.
There's 2 guys that I like for Seattle. That I think will be good that if they go to Seattle, and just good for them as well. And that's Jalen Carter and that's Anthony Richardson. I think both of those guys. They need that type of Pete Carroll type coaching to get the best out of them. And Jalen Carter, with the off the field stuff, you get him in the far northwest with Pete Carroll, get him isolated, get his head back right. But yeah, and then Anthony Richardson again, like you said, him sitting behind Geno, for a year, maybe even 2 years, to learn and develop will be something great. I think that'd be one of the best spots for him because
I think it's a great spot for him. I do.
If he goes to like the Colts, or if he goes, hopefully he doesn't go to the Raiders for his own sake. It's just all bad.
I hope he doesn't go to the Colts for his own sake because the Colts are
the Colts and the Raiders, but But we'll see what happens with him because there's rumors of teams possibly wanting to trade up for him, and I mean, it is what it is.
Will Levis is getting a lot of heat in the
Will
early.
Levis will fall. I think he's going to be the one that falls a little bit.
Me too.
You think so?
And yeah, and I think it all depends on what happens with the Houston Texans. If the Houston Texans don't go quarterback, which they should, because C.J. Stroud's sitting there, I don't know why you would take the chance of missing out on him. But if they decide to go somewhere else, I can see the Texans probably at 12 probably trying to get Will Levis if he falls that far.
I think Tennessee love Will Levis, and they will do anything they can to get him.
Well, Tennessee's at 11. I think they're picking up
at
11.
Yeah.
They could trade up.
Yeah.
Because I think Arizona want to trade down.
Yeah.
Probably get more picks.
Again, this is why it's so exciting, man. It's all these storylines.
Speculation.
Not just
so
Giants,
many
man.
variables.
So many moving parts.
Like we pretty much know is Bryce Young, to the Panthers, but after that, they put so much smoke on this C.J. Stroud not going to the Texans stuff that if he doesn't, man, woof. You think he makes it past the Colts, C.J. Stroud?
I have him going to the Raiders.
Oof.
No, I think Stroud's going to go with the Colts. I think he's a Colt.
So fun. Jacob says, what do you guys' opinion on Voorhees? I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but his stock kind of tanked with that ACL injury.
Yeah. For me, with Voorhees, if he's around in the 6th round, I stash him for a year. I'll stash him. It's a future position of need because again, like you said, we don't know what's going to happen with Azudu. I hope for the best with him and his neck injury. McKeithen too. Well, you think he's coming off an ACL. And he showed some promise before he got hurt, and they had him playing right guard and a little bit of right tackle before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. And you know what? McKeithen, I think, is going to surprise some people too, because again, we didn't really get a chance to see him, but Bobby Johnson raved about him, prior to him getting hurt, and the beat writers talked about, he was getting those extra snaps and he looked pretty good. So, and McKeithen, he is the same exact size as Evan Neal, like literally 6'7", 300, 330 pounds. He's like, imagine having both of those guys on that side. Just run the ball. Just run it.
Right. Jumbo tackle, someone who could play maybe swing as well. But that'd be prudent for the Giants. I think the Colts are taking Richardson, kind of my philosophy as well, Max. And their head coach is a good OC. I think that's the best spot for him. I think his best fits are Detroit and Seattle. I've seen a few people say Detroit is like a kind of a hot one. Also, I think our buddy Angry John yesterday had Richardson going to the Falcons, which is pretty interesting.
I can see that too.
That's a good show.
If 4
That's a good battle there too, him and Ritter.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Richardson will win though.
Yeah, absolutely.
If 4 QBs go in the top 10, I could see Witherspoon or Gonzalez falling. I would love Witherspoon to fall. Who knows?
If he falls, you're just going to give him to either the Eagles or like Washington. If he falls,
Washington, maybe the Steelers.
Steelers too. Yeah.
Steelers could go tackle though. I think they want to protect their quarterback.
Yeah,
that's true.
Johnson is getting old too.
Yeah. Chris, I think the whole panel would probably go between those two options, probably corner, because linebacker is no longer a first-round need, in my opinion.
No, it's not. Not to me neither. Nope.
Not at all.
I think the Texans are turned off from all the failed QB attempts at 2nd overall. Oh, yeah, there's a curse. There's a stigma. I forgot. Zach Wilson was the last one. What do you guys see after the big...
Trubisky was 2 too, wasn't he?
Trubisky was 2.
Oh, my God.
Ryan Leaf, if we're going back that far. So
RG3, yeah, one good year, but he was picked number 2 too.
You might want to trade out of 2.
Or they might just go edge.
What do you guys see after the draft being the biggest need for the Giants during the season that they may not address during the draft? Ooh.
That's a good question.
We'll have to wait till the end of the draft because I have no idea.
I'll still say safety. I'll say safety right now.
I think I'm going to jump on that train. Yeah,
you really like I said you really with Belton here and what's that one cornerback that we picked up from Kentucky that hasn't played for a while. He's more of a safety too. I can't remember his name now.
Leonard Johnson,
Yeah, yeah,
Duke
yeah.
kid.
They
Yep.
have him listed as a cornerback, but he's more of a safety too. And then you got UDFA's like Trenton Thompson was another one that got a little
I
bit of
really
play,
like him, but
and then Pinnock is also on the team at safety. So they might hold off on drafting the safety, but I think that still becomes not necessarily a need, but you want to add more competition to that spot because there's a lot of
exactly.
just bodies there.
I heard their head coach loves Darnell Wright. If you're talking about the Steelers, that's very much possible. The Giants could draft Tune in the 5th or 6th. I think. Dash, I think you brought that up actually.
Yeah, Clayton Tune. Yeah,
If the Giants do draft a QB,
Is it Tune or Tooney?
Clayton Tune,
It
to
is
my
Tune.
knowledge.
Okay.
If it's a quarterback, I hope it's Cunningham. I think
I hope
Cunningham
it's
is big.
DTR, my opinion.
I
If
I think DTR goes in like the 4th. He
really,
goes a little bit early. I think because you can't hide him. Like we don't talk about him a lot because of the top end guys, but
yeah,
the value for him in like the 4th round, I don't know what team would do it. Maybe like a Minnesota because they got Kirk Cousins, but wherever he goes, yeah, I think they're gonna like him.
definitely. If the Giants do draft a QB, it'll be 5th or 6th round, or maybe 7th. I think the Giants got like 4 7th round picks or something like that. It's wild.
We have 4 picks in the 200s. Yeah.
So depth, and more depth. But to close it out, we're gonna do ourselves a final mock draft before
Let's
Thursday
go.
Oh, I'm with it.
draft. We are using PFN because PFF has decided to be a Jagaloon.
Yeah, that's such an annoying, man. That's so annoying.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy about it too. But they waited for people. They gave it to you for free for 3 months, and then when you
right,
get close to the draft, they said,
Yeah.
we're just gonna cut it off.
no, you got to pay now. So simulated the first 24 picks. Here's what is on the board for the Giants: Brian Branch, Isaiah
Nope.
Foskey,
Nope.
Brian Breesy, Quentin Johnson, Michael Mayer, Cam Smith, Trenton Simpson, Zay Flowers is still on the board. There's a couple of decent options here. What's everybody's first thought?
What I would do is I would consider proposing a trade
Mhm.
with like the Bengals or the Chiefs and trading down and then getting John Michael Schmitz or Zay Flowers.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Right now, like if this happened real time on Thursday and these are the options, this is the perfect spot for me to take John Michael Schmitz. I never do it in the mock draft because there's other guys there. And if it's not John Michael Schmitz, I'm thinking it's Zay Flowers out of the guys that are there.
Yeah,
Me too.
I think you can. I think you can move down a couple spots, gain a pick. I think that's what I would do in this scenario.
If I'm not mistaken, Emmanuel Forbes is a little bit lower on that list too, so he might still be available.
True.
Mhm.
You guys you guys like Cam Smith at all?
I've heard good things about him, that he'd probably fit the Martindale system.
He's pretty good. He's physical. He's only 180 pounds too, but he's physical for his size. But he's a pretty good corner. I wouldn't be mad at him either.
Does this sound, now obviously I don't know if we're gonna have this accepted, but does this sound like an ideal trade?
It would be ideal, but I think you're more likely to get 28, 8, and 92 and 131 for 25.
So they're only moving up, what, 3 spots?
3 spots.
So, yeah, you're probably going to get the swap at 1 and possibly, because it's only 3 spots, possibly that 3rd. You won't, I don't think they give you the 2nd with that. So is that the 3rd?
That's the 92 is the 3rd, and then 131 is like the 4th or the 5th.
And then you could probably get something in 2024, but we're just focusing on 2023.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, trade was declined.
Take out the 4th and you'll get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Bengals.
If you just do the that.
All right, let's see.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
They don't like trading with us. It's very obvious. All right.
Maybe.
Ideas.
Do the straight up swap in the 4th.
Okay. Let's see. Bengals again. 25. You said swap the 4th round picks?
No, just to swap with the 1st, the 28th, and the 25th, and then just take their 4th.
Okay.
See if they'll take that. Wow. Yeah, they don't want to do it.
Yeah, they're stupid.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other trade offers?
As of right now, no.
You know what's funny
Okay.
about that? So the Bengals declined. That's funny.
I guess if you're, I guess I go Zay Flowers in this scenario.
Yeah. Does everyone agree?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yep.
Zay Flowers, it is.
Do me a
And I
favor. Let
think
me know what
Schmitz was
Dallas did
stupid.
right behind us. Curious.
Let's take a look.
Absolutely not.
I don't
Terrible
think
trade
we're
offer.
not entertaining this. Not entertaining this. Let's
Terrible
see.
trade offer. Okay.
Quentin Johnson.
Okay. Good for Dallas.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to shut my mouth for 2 seconds.
Is Schmitz there?
Schmitz is there.
Holy shit
We
balls.
don't even have to think about
Yeah,
that.
I don't think there's a question. Next. All right. So corner might be ideal here. Fuck off San Francisco.
Yeah, let's have a look at the corners.
Artavius Martin. Yeah, we're getting into the
Oh no.
Alex
You see, that's the
Austin.
problem, man. There's such a drop off.
I can't
Yeah.
do Tomlinson either. Tomlinson is just too short.
he's like 5'8" or something.
Is Trice there? But he's a little bit
Corey
further down.
Trice,
His
he is
ranking.
listed as 153 overall.
Yeah, that's too much.
Fuck. See, that's the
Um,
Trice is
problem.
good value.
I know the Giants have been attracted to Riley Moss as of late.
Moss is probably in the
um,
200s though.
Is Darius
Yeah.
Rush gone?
Went to the Baltimore Ravens, 3 picks before us.
Oh, that's killer. This is why for me, you have to take corner either the first or second round.
Yeah.
That's a very good
Just
point.
think about look. So do an exercise for me. Go to wide receiver. Let's see some of the names that are there at wide receiver.
Tank Dell,
Yeah, look, Tank
Jaden
Dell's
Reed,
there.
Jonathan
So
Mingo.
imagine if you go cornerback first. If we would have went Cam Smith there, you still would have had a chance to get Dell, Mingo, which I think.
Shall we do an executive decision and do a restart? Because I think this is going
I'm
wrong.
down. I'm down.
I think we lose Schmitz
Restart.
if we do a restart. But go ahead and restart it.
Let's go restart.
Let's see. All right.
Because that just did not
That
go.
that one. Okay, that draft did not happen. Okay,
Yeah.
so didn't happen.
That's why you need to go corner either first or second round.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's see where we end up.
I see Max on the beat.
Now we're talking. Yes.
And they
What?
offered it to us too. What is it?
Yeah, I
31
do
and
that
what?
in a heartbeat.
So we're giving up a 4th and our first round pick for their first round pick and their second.
And their second is what?
63.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
That's what you
we're
want.
taking this.
deal. Of course.
I don't
All
think
right,
we're
Jack.
trading.
All right, let's just focus on this now. Right,
Yeah.
what have we got?
All right. Oof. Okay.
Nancy Flowers.
Forbes is still here.
Oh,
It's
Cyrus
fine.
Torres is available. Oh, now we're talking.
Kansas
Now we're in
still
my
there.
bag.
Kansas there too. Gibbs is there.
See, let's
Yeah.
see where the corners are because I want to see how.
Mhm.
Forbes.
Turner's there too. Wow.
I've heard a lot of good things about Brent's, but the problem is, are any of these guys going to be there in the second? And also Tyreek Stevenson is good too.
Yeah, Tyree Stevens is really good. I was
I
going to say when
really-
it comes to Brents, a lot of people try to compare him to Woolen from
Okay.
from Seattle, but he's not as fast. He's good. He's tall. I believe he's like 6'3", but he's
Yeah.
not Tariq Woolen. He's not going to be a burner, but he is pretty good. A pretty good corner, and I like him in the NFC East too. But
See,
what was
this
his rank?
Brent's is ranked at 58. See, the thing is, we could take something here, go to the second round. Maybe there's a corner there, but then again, that would leave us in kind of free fall with a center.
Yeah. So you know what? I would still go to corner here and then see what centers available at 57.
Do you want to go
Then we just-
Forbes?
I'll
41.
take Forbes.
We'll do Forbes, and then we got what from the Bengals? No, from the
Chiefs.
Kansas City.
Yeah, we got another pick.
We got
from the
2
Chiefs.
picks. It just reminds me. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
No
I
more
don't think we need to do any
trades.
more trades.
Let's see if
Pretty
she's
good for that.
Schmitz there.
Titman
He's
is.
gone.
Yeah. Let's see. Where
Schmitz
did
is gone.
Schmitz go? Fucking Seattle.
Good lord, that's a realistic spot for them.
That is.
It's a good spot.
So
Oh,
we
Jalen
have-
Hyatt or Joe Titman jump off the screen.
So Tippman is there right away.
I like Tuli Tulip.
We went cornerback.
He's-
What? Yeah.
Good edge.
Cody
What
Mock.
wide
is there.
receivers there? at this spot.
There's Hyatt. There's I don't like Rice. Marvin
Yeah,
Mims.
Mims pretty good.
You could maybe wait because Tank
you can.
Dell would
My
probably
guy
still-
Tank. You can get him in the third round.
And Jack Campbell's gone for sure.
Yep.
All right. For me, I'm leaning Tippmann here.
I'm leaning Tippmann or Thule. I like Thule as an edge.
Oh, that's the edge, yeah, at USC.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean Tippmann. I say we get our center. No more trades. All right. Here we are.
So now you figure we have a cornerback, we have our center. Now we can look at what? Wide receiver possibly here too?
Cody Mock is available if you want to beef up.
That's interesting because we could take Tank next round and then right now get Cody Mock.
True.
Because I do think we need to get a guard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got cornerback, we got center.
There's also a safety sitting there right there, Sidney Brown.
I don't.
Yeah, Sidney Brown is short, man. About 5'9".
Not a fan of his. I'm leaning Cody Mock here.
I would
like
take
Keanu
Mock.
Benton too. Benton.
Keanu Benton. Yep.
He's your Leo replacement to me.
And then there's Gervon Dexter. I'm a big Gervon Dexter fan.
Mm-hmm. Scroll down just a little bit. Let me see who else is there.
My guy Tyreek.
Brandon Joseph, Jalen Jones. So there's a lot of corners still available here. Yeah, I'm with you. Whatever you want to do, Alex.
Cody Mock, Donald?
Yeah, let's go Mock.
All right.
If we go guard here, we don't have to worry about an interior line for the rest of the draft.
All right. Fuck off, Washington. Fuck off.
Let's find our receiver now.
All right, let's hopefully Tank is still there.
All right, pray.
A.T. Perry.
Tank is not there.
Jonathan Mingo is there.
Tyler Scott is also here.
I like Mingo a lot.
Oh, I like Booty. Booty. I like Booty.
No context. Let's see. The Giants' next pick. Holy shit.
128.
Oh, we gave up our fourth.
Yeah.
We gave up 128.
Gave up our fourth in that Chiefs trade.
Right.
This is why I think
you gotta go. You gotta go wide receiver here then.
Best receiver available.
For me, it's Mingo. For me,
Booty or Mingo?
Tyler Scott is pretty damn good too. He's a speedster. A.T. Perry. You know, that's a pretty good selection. If we came down to 89 and had these guys on the board, I wouldn't be mad with any of them.
I think I'm taking Mingo.
Yeah, let's go Mingo. I'm cool with Mingo.
I like Mingo. Yep.
All right, Jonathan Mingo it is. So we got
we'll go all the way.
We got corner, center, offensive guard, wide receiver.
We'll pick again to what 160.
Yep. I mean, is this even worth it?
Nope.
Pick up an extra seventh for a spot.
Not to
you guys
me.
want.
You can close it and come back to it. We see who's on the board if you want to even trade back.
Let's see. They're ringing me.
Okay. That's pretty good safety there.
Rashad
that's
Torrance.
Is that Olabatimi?
Ooh, Torrance. Rashad Torrance is a possibility.
Wow,
maybe
was still there. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and of course we picked two interior linemen already.
Yep.
Dorian Williams is here.
Dorian Williams is someone to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, he's a good linebacker.
That seems.
What about Edge?
Yeah, Edge would be a nice spot.
Edge
here
would be a nice one. Baldonado is someone I like as well.
Yeah, I like him too. I'm wondering whether you can get him a little later.
Giants have the 172nd.
I think we can get him the next one. Mike Morris is someone I quite like. Let's see. I'm thinking either Rashad Torrance to get a safety on the books or that linebacker.
I like DeMarco Hillams too at safety.
Oh yeah, Alabama guy. That's actually that probably makes some more sense.
So we're gonna go with
well coached.
Alabama secondary is pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we could go Halems, but also we could wait a little bit because he's ranked at 187, and we have another pick.
Gone. Max on the beat is saying I think Yaya's gone. Edge, yeah, I think he's long gone.
Is Yaya Diaby?
No, Yaya's still here.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, get
but I think we can get him in the next one because he's.
You think so?
And even then, there's Thomas and Coombe and Habakkuk Baldonado.
Okay, yeah.
There's so many options.
Yeah. Let's see. What's the linebacker? That linebacker, I really like that linebacker, Williams.
Dorian Williams.
Yeah, that'd be a good spot for him.
I think that should be the pick.
Yep.
Donald, you down?
Either Williams or Helms.
I think I'm going to take Williams here.
Helms might be there at 170, I think.
All right. I'm going to press Williams, and we'll see where this goes. All right. So Helms is still here.
Yes.
Baldonado is still here. Now,
after us,
the next pick
like
is
209.
209.
209.
And then those 3 in the 7th.
And then we get 3 in the 7th.
Oh, man. It's a tough one, man, because, we do desperately need some edge, but we desperately need a safety as well.
If I'm being completely transparent, I'm kind of prioritizing edge at this moment. How is Nick Herbig that low?
I don't know. Well, this is PFN too.
Yeah.
Like
Jose
you
Ramirez
could get Nick Herbig in the next one after 172.
We'll cheat the system.
We'll try.
I say we go Helms, and then we cheat the system.
Let's hope so.
All right. Let's cheat the system. All right. So we're 209. We've got corner, center, offensive guard, wide receiver, linebacker, safety. So edge is tempting.
Herbig's still there. Beautiful.
Wow.
And so's Jose Ramirez. You could double up.
Let's see. Any other positions that we have to get? Like,
I think we
to
need
my
to double
knowledge.
up at wide receiver too. So who's left with the wide receivers?
Okay. All right. Wide receiver.
Ooh, Moreno
Jefferson got into a car accident, which is bad,
Bradley.
unfortunately. I know. I think you were talking. Were you talking about Matt Landers?
Yeah, Matt Landers is a guy you can get in the
Dallas
7th.
Daniels. I like Jalen Wayne a little bit. Seems like a couple
Decent
of guys
shot
you
by
can get
Landers.
later, but
Yeah.
also at the same time. Here's what's best on the board.
I really don't like
got
Peoples.
and
I can't
Coombe
stand
is still
Peoples.
there.
I hope the Giants never draft Peoples. I don't like him.
We brought in Mapu for the top 30. But
That's true. We did.
In
but
Coombe
I
is
don't know.
sticking to me.
Cam Jones is a good linebacker too, but
Running back we have to assess at some point too.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Let's see who the best running back is. Right, this is a good spot for running back.
No Peoples.
McBride is still here.
Oh, that's
I like-
my pickup. That's my
I like
pick,
Dwayne
1000%.
McBride a lot.
I say we go McBride.
That's my spot. Yeah, I don't
Alright,
think
so-
there's no way he's going to be there.
So
Hopefully Ramirez is still there.
we got 3 picks left.
I thought we went edge. Did we go edge?
No.
Nope.
Herbig is still there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Take him.
That's
Now.
yeah.
For God's sake.
Before he's off the board. All right. Wide receiver we could double up on.
Let's see who's there.
I would consider another edge, actually, to be honest.
I'll think tight end too.
Tight end is also another one. Yep. Carl Brooks isn't bad as a D tackle.
Oh yeah. I like
If
Well,
we
there's Malik Cunningham. If you want to, I do think we need a quarterback.
Yep.
Well, we only got 2 picks left, so we can try to get Malik here as a backup, and then if Carl Brooks is there, I like Carl Brooks.
Okay. So, what the hell is DTR? Apparently, he's not here.
Oh, he's gone. He is gone.
Yeah. Goodbye, home run. I say Malik Cunningham.
I agree.
Right, and then
And hopefully Brooks is still
the
there.
final entry, Carl Brooks is still here.
I like Brooks
Ooh, nice.
because he's more of that 3 technique like Leo than sitting behind Dex.
Perfect.
All right,
But then obviously we have to bypass tight end. But I think we're covered at tight end. Anyway.
yeah, I mean, Tommy Sweeney or Lawrence Cager could get the job done. All right, so I'm gonna
I
screenshot.
think it's a good draft, man.
Yeah, no, I mean this is pretty solid. I'm gonna
Like, your offensive
screenshot
line is set.
all this.
Your
It
offensive line
is.
is set,
It's a sick offensive line.
and it's going to be a young offensive line too, man.
Yep. Right.
We got all our needs. We covered all our needs. I think McBride's a good spot.
How ideal that is.
Herbig's a steal.
Yeah, I love her, baby.
A lot of solid draft. Probably this might have been our best mock, Donald. You think?
I think so. It made sense.
But
What's up?
with that being said, I'm gonna start closing it out here. 2 hours, 20 minutes. Awesome show by all. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Let's throw it around for final thoughts before, and this is gonna be the last pre-draft live stream before Thursday. So, Big Dash, thank you for coming on. Final thoughts, man.
Yeah, man. Get your popcorn ready, man. It's going to be an exciting draft, and again, if it goes my way, John Michael Schmitz will be the pick at 25.
I would love that, Donald.
My 25, give me Deontay Banks.
In terms of like
Quick and
your
easy.
prediction, or who you like, who you want to go.
I think who I want to go.
Okay.
I'm
So
kind of
my
excited by
prediction-
him.
My prediction for the Giants, as a want, I would either want JMS or Zay Flowers, and maybe third be Joey Porter. But I think they're going to go Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I'm not mad at any of those picks.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
like there's a lot of really good options where we are. Like I don't think there's gonna be too much disappointment.
it's going to be a long night for you guys, though, man. 'Cause you figured it'd be a problem.
Bring it on, baby.
10:30, 11 o'clock before we pick them, possibly.
Yeah. Bring all the snacks and stuff. But
Bring it on. Everyone in the chat, shout out
Yes.
to everyone in the chat. If you haven't hit the like button, hit that like button. Big Dash, it's been a pleasure, my guy, and let's go, Big Blue.
Every time, man. I enjoy it. Thank you for having me. Alex, you already know. Don, it's been a pleasure every time. I think it's been, what, three, 4 times now?
Yeah.
yes, I'm
I think
along
so,
those
man.
lines.
Enjoy it every time, man. So thank you for having me, man.
All right, we'll see who the Giants pick at 25, or do they trade up or down? See, we got to speculate. We got to throw it in there. So excited for Thursday to Saturday. But we appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, sub up Big Dash's channel. It is pinned in the chat. I'll also give him a follow on Twitter. He does some really good stuff. But we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time. Let's go, Big Blue.
Let's go, Blue.